everyone, and we are live. Welcome back, guys. A team list Tuesday is in. Guys, spoiler here, Payne Haas has been named. We've got Tommy Chester back in the side. Obviously, there's a bit of concern here about Setu too. He is out. David Farley actually comes into that spot. Now, guys, for today, Turtles is going to be here too. I'm actually dialing in from America at the moment. So here we are. We're live from the US, and keen to tear in here, man. So let's rip into some of these team lists here. Turtles will be with us in the next 5 minutes as well. So Dolphins v Seagulls up first. And this should be a game. This should be a game. Well, it should be a pretty decent game here. Look, it should be a bit of a shootout, right? Like you'd expect this one to be a bit of a shootout. I'm looking at this Dolphins side and just sort of feeling like how much longer can we ignore these back rowers? You know, how much longer can we ignore Finafuiaki? How much longer can we ignore Lemuelu? Like these guys have been absolutely unstoppable. So I'm just looking at them going like, we're going to run out of time to buy these guys because they're just getting far too expensive. Now, before we jump in here, g'day Ben, how's it going? Jack, how you doing? Let's go, Chris. Good to see you. Turbo Pod, we'll talk about him in a sec as well. How's the planes trip, mate? It was a long plane trip, and I was on the aisle seat, so no window for me. Herbie Captain could be a good shout. Hope Turkey was good to you. Yeah, look, the hair's still coming. I should have worn a hairpiece today to go with the gag. And how does Wakeham get a start after last week? Well, they don't like Simpkin, apparently. Let's go. They have a bye next week, I would wear. Yep, here we go. Up the Waz. Oh, the Waz. Tough one against the Tigers. They should be better this week, you'd expect. Good to see you, Madman. Yeah, drop a hello. How you guys doing? How's the jet lag? Tonight's actually really funny. So it's 10 p.m. here in the US right now, which is absolutely fine. But Biz and I record at about 11 o'clock at night in Australia on Tuesday night. So for me, that's 5 a.m. over here. So I've got a cooked night ahead of me, which is super funny. How's the US so far? Yeah, been absolutely cracker, man. And 20 cells. Look, I think this week's not going to be as bad, guys. Like this week's, you got to get rid of Herbie Farmworth, obviously. Payne Haas returns. So if you're a Haas holder, you stick with him. Look, Haas isn't guaranteed to keep his spot. I will just mention that as well while we go on that. And yeah, 24K to 4K in ranks this week, man, that's cracker. That's cracker. I went from 24 to about 13K myself, but you've made a massive jump there. Yeah, Farley we'll talk about here too. Then why are you in the US? I might be doing in the next couple of years. I'm on the short list for a scholarship program for a Masters of Business Administration. So might be doing my MBA in the US in future. But for now, just traveling, just checking out the universities, meeting some professors, all that sort of jazz. Then Bambi Weso. Longy, what's your skincare routine? Glowing? Yeah, mate, it's too much sun, too many beers, and not enough worries. So, mate, that's the way we play it. Now, let's rip into some of these teams here. So first up, we got the Dolphins. Now, for the Finns, we're looking at Hammer at fullback, Asako, Averillo, Farmworth, Cobbo in the back line, Nick Reamer and Katoa in the halves. You got Gilbert, Plath, Kafusi in the front row, Lemuelu, Finafuiaki, and Morgan Knowles in the back row. I'm just going to adjust that screen to give us a slightly bigger. We want it a little closer than that. Slightly bigger view so we can see the bench here too. Oh, we're not going on my team. So for the Dolphins, the big question is really, is Isaiah Katoa going to bounce back? Is Herbie Farmworth going to have that big breakout game? What do we think of Max Plath now that he's kind of rising up there a bit? We've got some other options here too on the back row. So Lemuelu, Finafuiaki. There's a bit of talk about Gilbert, of course, but yeah, there's a lot of guys coming back. Francis Molo comes back here, Flegler too. For this Dolphins team, I'll just check the questions here before we rip in here. Did I hear Longy is a sell? Longy, Herbie is a sell. Herbie is definitely not a sell. Definitely not a sell. He's a guy you're going to keep for sure. For Herbie Farmworth, yeah, look, ride the wave there. He's been not as strong recently. Just those big attacking games haven't been there, right? That's kind of what you're waiting for Herbie Farmworth. So if you're a Herbie Farmworth holder, definitely stick with him. If you don't have Herbie, the Dolphins have a bye very soon. From memory, I think it's round 6 is their bye. So next week. So it's not a good time to buy Dolphins players right now. I'm just going to double check that buy here. But yeah, if you're looking at Herbie Farmworth, just not the time to do it. And that makes it a bit tricky to get on these other guys as well with the round 6 buy. But the Seagulls matchup is absolutely delicious. Like, if you told me this week you were going to captain Herbie Farmworth, I'd probably say, hey, that's actually not like completely insane, which is weird to say with how good, obviously, Payne Haas is. So Yeah, Herbie Farmworth, he's just probably not a guy you can target right now. But if you are looking at Lemuelu Finifuyaki, I mean, the numbers on them are insane. Like both of them have insane base. Lemuelu has the better base stats. That's the thing here with him. Like he's got the better base, but Finifuyaki is exhibiting like insane attacking upside. And the way Finifuyaki is running the ball, like it's passing the eye test for me. So I'm looking at him and the way he's looking at the defensive line, he's running the ball like he's going to burst through every single time. And as you get into tired defenses, it's why he's scoring these tries late in games because teams aren't keeping up. They're not keeping up the physicality against Finifuyaki. So I reckon Finifuyaki could go on a pretty historic run here, but it's tough to pay the amount he costs now. You know, he's up into the 600s there for a guy who has that buy coming up and doesn't have the best buys coming up. So the best has that buy coming up. It doesn't have the best base stats going in either. So that's what I'm thinking about with Finifuyaki. Turtles will be in about a minute here, by the way, guys. So keen. What to do with Isaiah Katoa up next? Yeah, look, Katoa is one that if I had Katoa, I'd keep him one more week solely because I like the matchup against Manly. That's the one thing I'd hold Katoa for. I just think he's the kind of guy that could potentially break out in this one. But if Katoa doesn't pop in this game, you can pretty much give up on him. Like it's pretty much over for Katoa. So that's my take on Katoa there. Just see if there's any other good questions here. Made after Herbie, who is the second best center in fantasy? Is there a second best center in fantasy? Like, is there one? I personally don't think there is. Who's the second best one? I'm struggling. I'm actually really struggling to answer. I've got Bradman Best at my side. That's not the answer. Who is the best? And Kale Euro could break out and be that guy potentially. Obviously, Ewan Aitken's out of the picture right now. We can see if he gets named to start. But yeah, I think it's just personal preference. Like you can look at the guys that are available there and you just jump onto one of those guys. Turtle, by the way, give me a wave when you're ready to go and I'll add you in here. Now, sold Haas and feel great. Yep, selling Haas. Turtles, mate, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Sorry, I'm a little bit late. A little bit of traffic.
That's okay, mate. Come from work. You're all good. So did you sell Haas in the end?
Nope. I bought Howe. Perfect time to buy Howe.
Keeper. Yes. Mate, prime time. Yeah, for Haas there, look, we'll talk about Haas in that Broncos team list as well, but he's a pretty easy one to just ride with at this stage. There's no guarantee he plays this week, but yeah, he should be solid. Some of you guys are saying he's still a sell. I personally think you stick with Haas if you got him. Now, for this Dolphins side here, talk to Finifuyaki, talk to Lemuelu. They're interesting pot options if you want, but that buy next week's not ideal. Katoa is a hold this week. You know, Farmworth is potentially a captain option against Manly if you really want to. And I guess Max Plath is a guy who's on my watch list as well. But that really rounds out the Dolphins there. I'm not that interested in Averillo, Asako, Cobbo, these types of guys. So we'll jump across to Manly next, and we can talk about this one here, Turtles. So I'll throw you Turbo in a second. We've got Turbo at fullback. We've got Falalo, Kohler, Garrick, and Hopewadi in the back line. Brooks and Fogarty in the halves there. Paseka, Wakeham, Hetherington in the front row. Olakwatu, Burbo, and Gerbo in the back row. Simpkin, Waddell, Bullimore, and Lifo. So for these guys here, look, Manly have a new coach in place, which can sometimes mean things happen. Things like Kohler, Oxy Mace just mentioned that, Kohler popping off, maybe a change in structure there where they go away from Jake Trebojevic at the lock spot. Like there's heaps of stuff that they could do here. Turtles, let's throw to you first here. Do you think the coaching changes impacts Turbo here, or do you think it's more of the same for him?
I think it's probably more of the same. And obviously people are saying that like this kind of rule changes have been benefiting Turbo. Turbo's been scoring pretty well. I think the lowest score he's had is about a 55 and he's averaging near that 60. But if you look at the stats, right, it's basically he's getting a try or two every single game. And he's got a whole bunch of tackle breaks as well, which is basically beneficial for him. But what we really need to see is Manly to start winning games. And whether or not that coach change does work, I feel like Broncos started winning games after we sacked Seabold. So maybe Sea Eagles can do the same. I think on the news they came out that Jake Trbojevic went up to Anthony Seibold and said, "What you're doing here is not right. We're not gelling together. Things aren't working well." And then 24 hours later, he gets sacked. So the players didn't like him either. Everyone here, I feel like, does like Kieran Foran. So maybe they step up this game and show what Manly can do because they haven't really gelled yet. And the thing is, Manly, they lost so many players last year. And like I remember like looking at like the changes for the club. I think they lost like 10 or more players and like some of their reserve grade players as well. But still, huge changes here. I feel like Fogarty's doing a decent enough job. It's just I feel like their forward pack is lacking. They're lacking that like go forward in the forwards. I think once they figure that out, they'll start winning games.
Yeah, I'm not a big believer in them right now. Like, I think Trey Evans is a big loss, and preseason coming in, I had Manly in the 16th spot. So I just sort of came in feeling like, oh, this is not going to be a good Manly year. And they've been worse than I expected, and I didn't expect much. So I'm kind of shying away from these guys. Look, Tolu Kola, he's looking unbelievable. Turbo seems to be a bit team-proof right now. And against the Dolphins, that's a game that could be a shootout as well.
Mhm.
So maybe Turbo, for the new coach, just continues to get that ball. Like, I don't think they're going to become more Brooks dominant or Fogarty dominant or Brandon Wakeham dominant. It's going to be, all about Turbo there. But there might be some changes to the structure that might be frustrating for him. So I'm kind of shying away from Turbo a bit personally, but we'll cover him more in Buy, Hold, Sell. Also, a few people have asked, why is it in US time? Yeah, so so it's because I'm over in America, guys. So if you did miss the start, over in the US, dialing in at random ass times here. Turtles is still in Australia, but the time says 2 a.m. It's the Thursday game. I promise it's not at 2 a.m. in Australia. But for Manly, other than that, I mean, Kobe Hetherington getting a few of these here, possible 1 ppm, that kind of vibe. For Hetherington, I mean, have you looked at Hetherington Turtles? I'm going to check out the stats here and just give it a read in real time here.
He's actually scoring quite well because I remember I think Biz was talking in our chat talking about Corey Jensen, and at the same time I was thinking, oh, maybe we should start looking at these really cheap mids who can perform quite well. And one of those mids was Kobe Hetherington that I looked at, but his stats weren't too great the first few weeks just because he was getting that lower minutes. But then last week we saw him get those big minutes. He got 73 minutes, which is kind of huge, and then he got 63 points. The problem here is he plays for the Eagles. So they might be a very, very inconsistent team. His minutes are going to be all over the place depending on who's getting injured or what. I just don't think the job security is there. I like his price point. We have so many quality mids right now, and you kind of just want to stock up on all those quality mids. So it's a no from me.
Yeah, I mean, I get scared. Like when you look at the scores here, it's 36 points in 36 minutes. Then it's 16 points in 43 minutes. That's a disaster. And then you got 63 in 73. We have no guarantee whatsoever of what his role is going to be. We don't know if, they like Simeone on the bench, for example. He looked good in limited minutes. I think he might get more minutes. They might want Waddell in the middle. Like we've seen other teams move those like hybrid edge back rowers into the middle slot this year. That's happened a bit. Bullimore's a guy who was signed to the club at one point as a promising guy as well. So I worry a bit about that. I'm a no on Hetherington, whereas like Corey Jensen, who we talked about last week, that was a bit more interesting because you know exactly what Corey Jensen's role is going to be when Payne Haas is out. Now Haas is back, so that probably hurts Jensen now, but it could be still at reduced minutes here. People asking about dual position as well. When do they come in? I believe it's round 7. I thought round 7 was the next time. I think it's every 7 rounds or so. I'll confirm that exactly for Buy, Hold, Sell, but yeah, I don't know why anyone's checking about Simi Sasangi's dual position. You're not going to buy him. He's not going to keep that center spot all year, so he's one to stay away from until end of the year when, like you did last year, Turtles, when someone jumps on him. Then we got up the Bronx, picked up Finafuyaki last week, absolutely killed it with that one. We were on this show last week saying we like Finafuyaki and Lemuelu better than Joe Chan, by the way. So I'm just going to do a victory lap on that because Joe Chan was stinking, and he's got the Panthers this week, so it could be another rough one. Is Garrick no longer relevant? I'm going to say no. Just on the form right now, too bad. If I saw a game where he really broke out and looked good, maybe the coaching change can help with that. But he's leaving the club at the end of the year for the Roosters, and I feel like we're seeing another player kind of giving up on his team when he's about to leave here with Ruben Garrick. So until he shows us that's not the case, I just can't in good conscience recommend him. We're getting questions about, Yongi for Sewer or for Chester. I feel like it's a bit late for Chester, personally. Like he's been a decent scorer. I'd rather just go cheap and go either David Farley, who's been named to start this week, or someone like Papali'i, who's been named to start for Parramatta, right? That's where I'd go here. And it's. And then you can go for Suape longer. That's a fine option. He's pretty expensive now, but it's decent up there. New mascot, Leo and Reed. Actually, Reed might be a good mascot. That's see, Leo we never believed in, but Reed, I did believe in Reed, and I feel like a fool. Then you're going to be
Are
watching.
you selling Reed?
Yes,
Are you
yes,
selling
100%.
Reed this week?
Dude, 100%.
I am going to do a hot take, and I am going to hold Reed because I feel like teams who play the Dragons, for some reason, score really, really high. I feel like whenever you verse the Dragons, because Dragons are a very fantasy-friendly side, I feel like if there's a game where he's going to score 50 and 60 minutes, it's against the Dragons. So I'm going to hold him one more week.
Oh, he's losing so much cash, though. He's dropping bundles.
Is he losing that much?
Well, what did he drop? I thought it was like 40K last week. 32K last week.
But how much did we buy him for? Right, it's not like we wasted a trade by getting him because we started with him. In total,
he's about at his starting
3K.
price. About starting price right now. So
yeah, he's lost 3K from his starting price, and we haven't wasted a trade on him yet. We started with him. We've only lost 3K. He went up a little bit, but then he's come down a bit. So he's only lost 3K at the moment. It's up to him now whether or not, what's his break even? I think his break even's like 56. So it is a high break even, but I don't think we've lost too much now. I think obviously that low score.
Emotional.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's terrible. But if there was a team, if you had to pick one team for Reed Marnie to verse to get most amount of points in 60 minutes, it will be the Dragons.
It's actually not a bad call. Not a bad
It's a hot take. I don't think people are going to agree with me, but it's my hot take. I'm going to hold him that week. I have other fires to put out. That's situational as well, I guess.
Yeah, you got people saying, nah, Reed's straight trash. I'm sure there's some people, Reed's gone for me. I'm sure there are some people who are replacing Reed with, look, I kind of get what you're saying, and it would benefit me not to buy a hooker this week as well, right? So if I could just go get Twal and not have to worry about hooker, I'd actually be really happy. That would be, because then I could go like Yongi and like maybe Yongi and Setu too or something like that for someone cheap and Twal or some combination like that. The other option is for Marnie, we'll talk about this on buy, hold, sell, and we'll do a segment just on hookers exclusively. But you can go to the top with Blake Brayley. He's got a buy in round 7, so you have to deal with hooker in next week anyway, or not next week, the week after. Or you go Harry Grant, who's been a bit out of form recently and hasn't scored over 50 without tries, which is a really bad record, but he should bounce back. Like Grant's actually the way I'm leaning on this, just because I don't want to deal with that round 7 buy. Or you go cheaper and you go like a Reece Robson sort of type of player there. Obviously, he's got the bye this week, so that's a really hard one to jump on now. Then Phoenix Crossland is kind of an option. We'll check out the team list for the Knights. Harrison Graham could be an option as well. Let's roll into the next game, though, here, because we're going to get who we got here. So Rabbitohs Dogs, and that's going to be an answer at some point as well. So Garlic is named here. Brandon Smith is nowhere to be seen. So no Brandon Smith. Just want to say this is a taste of the disappointment that you will experience as a Brandon Smith owner if you do buy him, because he loves a late withdrawal, loves a little injury. That's where I'm just like, oh. Also, that's where I'm just thinking, oh, that's the risk. Also, just if my head's frozen, by the way, it's because I'm changing tabs to scroll to the next one, so don't stress too much. It's all good. So for Rabbitohs here, let's go into this team here. We've got Gray, Johnston, Mitchell, White, and Graham in the back line. Walker and Humphreys in the halves there. Then we've got the forward pack here, Totola, Garlic, Kolomatangi. And we go into Dave Fafita, Talis Duncan, and Cam Murray. Now for the Bunnies here on the bench, you've got Mama Zealous, Hubner, Kepi, or Blanc on the bench. It's the side that they had the bye last week, so they've kind of been off the radar a bit. So really we're looking at this from refreshing, and we're thinking, all right, Jai Gray had a massive game in round 3. He was interesting at that time. Latrell Mitchell has been in great form to start the year. Is a Bulldogs matchup one that we want to buy into here. Jamie Humphreys has been relevant in the past. Bronson Garlic could do something here, but Mama Zealous on the bench and Cheese around the corner probably rules that out. Kolomatangi, when will that tackle break come? Dave Fafita, when's that big game going to come for Big Dave here? And then no sign of Ewan Aitken in that slot as well. So Yeah, for those bunnies, I mean, I'm going to throw Latrell to you here first, Turbo. For Latrell Mitchell, are you interested at all in him?
You just called me Turbo.
No way.
Yeah, when I first joined the stream before I actually entered online, became live, you guys were discussing who's the best center in the game, and everyone says Herbie because Herbie did so well last year. If you look at the average, Latrell's actually slightly above. I think it's because he's also getting that goal kicking, and he does currently has scored more tries, which has kind of ticked him up a little bit. Obviously, we prefer Herbie because Latrell doesn't plays Origin, so Herbie's not affected by that, and that's kind of what we want. But if you're looking for a pod option, and let's say you're in the top 100 and everyone's got Herbie and you don't, I will take the swing of the fences and go Latrell because he's actually doing quite well. And they just had their bye; they're not going to have another one for quite a while. The team's looking strong, so I think the Rabbits put on a show here because the Dogs don't know how to attack, and Rabbits get it done here, and it's going to be on the back of either Latrell or David Fifita. So hopefully both, I guess. But I think Latrell's a smoky pod against Herbie. If you really, really have too much money, imagine having Latrell and Herbie as your centers. That's locked in your centers for the rest of the year, basically.
Bro, it's a spicy option. You're also getting called Turbo Turtle in the comments now, so that's going to stick. My form of jet lag is going to be a few missteps like that. But for Trell here against the Dogs, so I'm just thinking out loud. He's on the left side. We have Crichton on the left side as well. So he's up against Tuala. Yeah, that's not a bad edge to attack.
Tuala and Montoya.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
You know
Preston and Galvin, who can Preston looked a bit injured last week at time.
He does. Yeah. So he doesn't also have to just score tries to get it. Alex Johnston, the number one try scorer in the game, is up to the left of him. So expect Latrell Mitchell to get those offloads and those try assists or line break assists. And that's how he basically broke his record, right? Both of them were from Latrell, feeding him great ball and giving him them line breaks or cutout balls, whatever, to get those try assists. So Latrell doesn't need the tries. He can get them, and he has been doing them. And the best thing is he also goal kicks. So he ticks every field, basically, Latrell.
Mate, that could be spicy. Also, you got Negan here. Critter changed sides to avoid Latrell. Kraz last week. We'll talk about Kraz in a sec as well. I'm just going to flag up here Dave Fifita too. Because, yeah, look, Latrell, before I go to Fifita, Latrell, it's an upside play. It's an upside play in a season where we've seen plenty of upside plays working. So that's where I'm going, I can't rule it out. But you really got to believe. And you're probably going to have to cop some lower scores here as well. So that's all I'm going to say about Trell. For the forward pack here, I'm not that excited about Kalamatangi. I'm not that excited about Cam Murray. I just don't think there's upside in those guys. I think Dave Fifita has to be in your 17 every single week. And I think coaches are going to be in a situation this week where they're choosing between guys like Dave Fifita, Daniel Atkinson, maybe Sanders, these types of guys for their last bench spot. And I just think Fifita has to be ahead of those guys for you, just because of the massive upside. So I know you're not a Fifita guy, Turtles, but I am pretty keen on him this week. And I think this Dogs matchup could be good.
Yeah, Fifita's spicy. Basically, you have him in your side to have that really, really crazy play. We've seen it done before. He's on like 12 points. He does one massive run, 3 tackle breaks, a couple offloads, and a line break, and suddenly he's on like 35. And you're like, how did he just get 20-something points? He has those bursts in him. What we need to see is him have multiple of these bursts, and suddenly he's going to get on like 70 points, and you're going to be kicking yourself if you didn't play him. If you have Fifita in your side, you're definitely playing him. There should be no question about that. I personally don't have him in my side, so I don't have that problem. But if I had him, I'll be playing him.
Yeah, yep, he's the one. Now, for the Dogs here, we got Connor Tracy at fullback. We're looking at Karaz, Tuala, Crichton, Montoya in the back line. Burton and Galvin in the halves. We got forward pack here of King, Hayward, Hughes. Then we have kick out Preston, Salmon in the back row. Interchange is Mann, Tupanua, Hayes, and O'Sullivan here. A lot of people asking about, what do you do here with this Dogs halves pairing, right? Like their attack has been really, really average so far. And people are talking about putting O'Sullivan in the starting side. They're talking about should the Dogs move Galvin out of the team, should the Dogs move Burton into the center spot? Like, what's the play here? What do you think the Dogs are going to do here, Turtles? Because that attack was bad, but I didn't feel like Burton was the cause of the problems. But at the same time, they were pretty effective when they ran Crichton in the halves there and had Burton slipping into the center spot.
One thing that I didn't realize, which was a change from last year, was the Dogs picked up Adam O'Brien, who was at the Knights last year, who chopped and changed these halves, and the halves were all over the place for the Knights. I feel like since he's their coach for their offense,
the Adam O'Brien curse.
I feel like that the Adam O'Brien curse is happening for the Bulldogs, and I don't think he's going to improve their offense too much. So he might just stick to his guns here and just be like, you know what, I chopped and changed heaps last year and that got me sacked. So what if I just stick to it and wait for the Bulldogs to kind of just gel together a little bit more? I feel like their best team is probably Burton in the senses, with Sullivan at 7 and Galvin at 6, because Burton is essentially an above average center. He's probably not an above average 6. I feel like, yeah, Galvin is a better 6 and Sullivan's a better 7. It's just play your players in their strengths, in the positions that they're the best at, basically. And I feel like those 3 changes could make them click. Whether they do it or not is a different question, just because, like I said, it's Adam O'Brien. So it's not looking good for the Bulldogs here. So that's why I'm saying the attacking stat players like David Fafita and Latrell Mitchell might actually feast in this game.
Right, yeah, that could be juicy. I don't know. I'm worried about this because obviously I bought Burton last week, right? And I went Burton and Hamish Stewart, and it was just like, what do I do here? Like, I mean, Hamish Stewart went well, obviously, but it's boosted by the Couchman brothers being out. And for Burton, the 2 tries were, I mean, that's part of his profile. It's why I bought him, but I was not happy with the volume. The volume of attack went down. The kicking, there wasn't a lot of kicking for the Dogs in that game. And they were going to Galvin nonstop. Like, he ran the ball, I think, 28 times for not a lot of results. Whereas, on the Burton side of the ball, whenever he got the ball, he looked dangerous. And when he tried to run the ball, he was just unstoppable. So, yeah, man, it's pretty interesting. It's pretty interesting. I'm kind of hoping they just figure it out here.
It's
stick together as a halves pairing.
It's kind of crazy how much Galvin ran the ball. Like, he ran like 230 meters or something, and he only scored like a 54. So basically half of his points that he scored last week on fantasy came from run meters, and it wasn't like he had a crazy line break and ran 70 meters at a time. He just had so much volume of the ball. Like, the amount of receipts and the amount of touches he's getting is ridiculous. And like you said, they're not really translating into tries for them because the Dogs aren't scoring that much. I think I saw a TikTok and someone was saying that Tom Jenkins has outscored the whole Bulldog side for the start of the year, which is kind of wild. But yeah, so I feel like they're going to run with this for a little bit longer just because they want to stick to their guns. Usually when they want to stick to something, they test it out for a few more weeks, and it's not like they're 0-4 like some teams. So I think they're just going to play with this for a little bit longer, and hopefully that's enough time for us to adjust our teams. But if I was a Burton owner, I might be a little bit worried. Sorry, Lungy.
And look, I'll take the big score and we'll roll with it and we'll see what happens. It saved me last week. Like, my side had 15 players, including Yongi, who got hurt at halftime, and Reed, who scored 10. So I really had 13 players and rose up the ranks, like 14,000 to about 9,000. So what could have been if I didn't have all those bloody injuries last week? For the Dogs, though, that's pretty straightforward. If people ask about Ewan Aitken, he was injured with that cork before. I don't think that would be the issue now. There might be a new injury there, or maybe he's just not in the side for some reason. They've picked a bunch of middle forwards here. I would say Ewan Aitken's a better middle forward than Liam LeBlanc, though, right? So that's a pretty controversial one if he has been dropped. Also, Carraz. Sorry, I forgot to mention this. You guys are asking about Carraz. Talk about Carraz. For Carraz here, and we'll talk about Sam Hughes as well if people are asking about him. But for Carraz, he didn't look great in that last game. He got very lucky with that pass. I don't know how that was allowed. That was pretty shocking. And he scored that try there. And then you had a few other attacking plays where he was kind of gifted the ball, but Carraz wasn't looking like the guy who goes after that ball. He wasn't looking like a guy who was looking for offloads. He had the arm free a few times and just didn't throw it. and I was a bit worried about it. Like, it almost looked like either he's carrying an injury or he's been told to put the offload away and he's kind of throwing a tantrum, or, it's tough for us to know what's going on. But if I was a Carraz owner, I'd be thinking about selling. Like, if I didn't have other fires to put out and it was going to help me to use his cash elsewhere, I'd be seriously thinking about selling. I'm assuming you're sort of on the same thoughts here, Turtles?
I am a Carraz owner, so what I did like to see was he did slightly start the rotten ball more. So what I didn't like in round 3 was they'll kick to his corner, he'll get the ball, and he looks really injured, so he will pass it to Connor Tracy to go take the hit up. And then if Connor Tracy is doing the hit up, obviously Carraz is not running that ball, he's not getting the tackle bus, and if he's not holding the ball and taking hit ups, then he's also not offloading. Last week he only did 3 offloads. I feel like last year he probably averaged about 4.5 to 5. So we are still missing a little bit of that uptick, but it was an increase compared to round 3. Even if you take away the try, his stats were a little bit better. He did have like 5 or 6 missed tackles, which brought his score down. I feel like that's not going to happen every single week. So, especially outside Crichton, with Crichton next to him, like, why is he having 5 missed tackles when he's next to the best defensive center? It doesn't make sense. But he does look injured, but I think he's on the right path. If you have Carraz owner, you're probably got other fires to put out. I don't know. I feel like, am I the only one who's got so many fires to put out that I'm not selling Kiraz and Reed Marnie? I feel like I'm being a bit weird here, but these are all problem players, and I'm looking to trade other fires out. So we'll get into that later.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in a spot where I don't have as many problems, I think, to deal with. But yeah, some coaches might not have any issues at all. We're going to ask about Sam Hughes as well, and we'll talk about Tui too. Also, what city? In Arizona at the moment, in Tucson right now, at the University of Arizona. But for the front row here, Sam Hughes gets that starting spot. We've seen time and time again the starting spot for the Bulldogs in the front row next to Max King means sweet F all. It means absolutely nothing if you're the starting prop at the Dogs, because we saw Daniel Saluka-Fafita over and over again play less than 20 minutes as a starting prop. Now, Sam Hughes so far this year, and I had to get the numbers up to make sure of this, he has 19 points in 19 minutes and 8 points in 16 minutes. So sub 20 minutes both games. There's nothing here to indicate that he's going to be a guy stepping up into bigger minutes here. And you look at the bench here, Harry Hayes eats up minutes. Jamin Salmon in that starting spot, he eats up a few minutes. So that means Kurt Mann might play at the same time as Salmon. You've got Sean O'Sullivan, who maybe they bring on as a ball-playing lock or something, or maybe he's just cover. And then you've got Satili Tupanua, who actually had a massive game for fantasy last week. So he's a guy who, they went out and signed. They brought him in as a specialist middle forward. He's not just some hacked-together prop. He's a guy they view as a very good prop off the bench. So I look at this and go, yeah, I just don't believe in Sam Hughes here at all. And he's not at base price either. If he was at 230K, we're having a different conversation. Maybe we're saying it's worth the gamble. But even at 230K, I'd probably rather Cooper buy than Sam Hughes, right? So he's pretty low on my list there. I think we're both on the same page. Now, if there's no more questions about the team here on the Dogs, then we'll keep rolling through. I will just say Leo Thompson, when he returns, it's like round 10 when he gets back. So there's nothing you can do about him too much. Also, I will pause, like my face will pause. It's because I'm switching tabs, so don't freak out. Now, for the Panthers and Storm, this should be a belter of a game. And I'm keen to know, guys, I want to get a bit of a feel. Drop in the live comments there who you think is going to win out of the Panthers and the Storm. I just want to get a vibe for where everyone's tipping this. Like, Panthers obviously have been unstoppable, but they conceded 20 against Parramatta last week. All consolation points, but I'll still take it. Storm have been good, but they're 2-2. The Storm have the same number of wins as Parramatta, which feels insane to me. And they just lost to the Cowboys, who didn't look like they were going to beat anyone this year. So I wouldn't rule out a Storm bounce back here, but it's so hard to tip against the Panthers. Now, for the Riff, while we wait for those results here, for the Riff, we got Edwards at fullback, Jenkins, Alamotti, McLean, To'o in the backline, Talangi and Cleary in the halves. We have Leota, Lussick steps in for 1 week here, and Lindsay Smith. And then we have Papali'i, Martin, and Yo in the back row. Interchange is Cogger, Phillips, Sorensen, Garner. Tunga obviously on that extended bench. So for the Riff, Dylan Edwards, he followed up his awesome game 2 weeks ago with a shocker this week. Tom Jenkins keeps scoring tries, so I don't know, we can't really read into that. Alamotti, Casey McLean have been hit and miss. Brian To'o, what's his price at now? He's on an all-time drop here. In this back five, what a side
Didn't he
she's
score
here.
like 8 points or something last week?
Bro, 8 points. And the week before,
Yeah.
28 with a try. He's also had a
Yeah. So
22
he's
this year.
458k. Yeah,
Minus
458k. He's dropped
40.
75k.
Bro, Brian Tall is going to get into the
75k
300s.
total.
He's going to get to like 380 or something here, I reckon. That's my projection. Like, that's insane. Are you interested at all in him in like round 7 with Origin coming up?
No, because I think just
390K?
Origin's coming up.
I don't
He's
know if
gonna
I
play
could turn
Origin
him
though.
down.
He's gonna play Origin.
Look, he will. But imagine Brian Tall at 390K, even for 4 weeks. I know, like, it's so hard to back him because like the numbers aren't good. Like the numbers really aren't good. I guess they didn't need him to do anything against Penrith, but so for tackle breaks, he's had 3 or less every game, except for that one good game. For run meters, he had 92 run meters last week.
Yeah,
like that's low for Brian Tall. He had 5 missed tackles in that game too. Like,
looking at round 3, he scored a try, and he still only got 28 points. That's he's dropping cash real quick. I feel like by the time he gets to 300k or like 350k, it's going to be the same time where we get Lasardi and Ryan Couchman back. So most people are going to be burning their trades to get those players anyway. So hopefully by then you should have maybe 2 to 3 solid wing fullbacks, and you're not relying on people like Setutu or Chester anymore. So I feel like it's a good cash out. Let's say like you had a player who gets knocked out or they're suspended when they're 600k. Good cash out if he's really cheap, just because he's got that job security.
right, it's so juicy. We've got tips coming in here too. So we got Panthers because I want them to. Panthers.
Nah.
Panthers. Storm. There we go. We got one.
Let me. Here we go. Let me say something about the Panthers and Storm matchup. Every single time they play each other, Panthers are favorites. The last 5 games, Storm have won 4. That is wild to me. So I don't know why. Maybe it's this game they just step up. But for a positive for Panthers, they did rest a lot of their players. Liam Martin got a big rest. Isaiah Yeo got a big rest last week. I feel like they did that in preparation for versing the Storm. So, and they've already won that game basically. So they're essentially nice and fresh. Also, do we really think Storm are going to lose 3 in a row? I don't think so. So I'm backing Storm here.
Mate, that's juicy. I mean, I can't bet back against the Panthers, but there are a few people asking. John asked this. How do the Panthers do it? I mean, Mitch Kenny's only out, I think, this week. So Lussick's like a 1-week thing, not a solution at hooker. You just can't target him. Then is Leo the worst player in the NRL? No, Leo's all right. He's streaky. He's just not. He's probably the worst fantasy scorer in the NRL, I would say, but that doesn't make him a bad player in real life. It's just, and then will Leo play Origin? Follow up. Yeah, it's a tough one to read these Storm players because they were so good. Also, you just got accused of cursing the Storm here too. Now, for the Panthers here, let's go to these fantasy options here because look, we've all got Cleary. This is a good matchup against the Storm. It's not like the perfect matchup, but my thinking here is the Storm attack is going to be good enough to keep this game competitive. And so Cleary is going to have to put the heat on for 80 minutes. Now, really, your only risk as a Cleary owner is 1, obviously every player has injury suspension risk, and 2, him taking the foot off the pedal. That, so far this year, is the only risk. Because when the team gets ahead, he kind of takes the foot off the gas because he's massive first half, slower second half. Against the Storm, like you said, they've won 4 of the last 5. There's no way Penrith don't really work to put them away. I think this is going to be a big Cleary game. And as much as Walsh has a good matchup, as much as Herbie has a good matchup, all these guys, I'm going to be on Cleary. The only one I would consider over him is maybe Herbie against Manly. Maybe. Like that could be one of those games where Herbie racks up like 100 plus points. But I think it's Cleary, and I'm keen to hear your thoughts here, Turtles, too.
In terms of captain choices, I'm going to go the super pod captain and back my boy Payne Haas, coming back from injury, versing the Titans. Their middle forwards are all over the place. Tino's not playing big minutes, so I expect Haas to just explode. I feel like that 1 week's rest has been beautiful for him, and he's likes a little bit of Payne. He's named after Payne, even though he's changed his name, but he's going to be the ultimate pod captain for me this week.
Beauty. Also, for some questions here, why does it say 2 a.m.? Just for anyone who's joined late, I'm in the US right now for the next 3 weeks. So it's giving me US time for these games. I promise it's not at 2 a.m. for you guys. It's a Friday night game. Then trade Yo. That's a big question. For Yo, the minutes last week were disastrous, but he scored the softest try I've ever seen in my life and broke my heart in that moment. I think like the middle forward spot is so tough, but if you are able to, I mean, Yo for 12 turtles, something like that. You free up some cash there. If it then allows you to trade Reed to, one of the top hookers or make a move like that, I'm not against it. I think it's okay. And Yo's minutes, it's going to be about 60 to 65 most weeks. Like the 50s last week was not what it's going to be going forward. So I'm okay with you selling Yo if you don't have other problems to, sort out at this stage.
I think it's not the week to do it. I feel like this week he's going to be getting those big minutes because they're running Freddie Lussick, who's basically not an 80-minute hooker. I feel like Jack Cog is going to probably play hooker here. So if this is a week where Yo gets 70+ minutes, it's probably this week. If you're really, really desperate for cash, I feel like you should trade him next week. I feel like a lot of people already traded Payne Haas and then they're going to get rid of Yo. It's like you're selling all these really, really solid middle forwards who have shown year after year their consistency and how well they score. I know it's a little bit changed with Yo, but I feel like it's probably not this week to sell him. So if Yo played an extra 20 minutes, suddenly he was on like a 70 points. And this is, like we said, going to be a very competitive game. I feel like Panthers need Yo to play big minutes in this Storm matchup.
Yeah. I'll throw this in here too. Jai mentioned it. It's a good shout, actually. Panthers' backline is not strong defensively, right? So I like Warbrick in attack. Howarth went off injured last week. Meaney's back to center. He's been injured a bunch as well. And, Sialangi here, he was exploited last week too. And then Fa'alongo, as much as we love him, he's not Ryan Pappenhausen when it comes to defensive organization. So you could make the case here, even looking at the edges, Joe Chan and McDonald instead of, who they had last year, Katoa in that Joe Chan spot there. They're defensively on the edge is not going to be as good, the Storm, 100%. And yeah, you could make the case that, the back line here, To'o, Jenkins, McLean could go well. You're probably not buying those guys on the back of that thought process. But if you're, I saw someone before commenting they were going to sell Isaiah Papali'i for 12. I think it's a bad move. Like, I think this Panthers matchup is a positive one for Papali'i. He might play some, if Yo plays bigger minutes, probably means Papali'i plays bigger minutes as well, because they're going to need those big forwards on. So I think Papali'i, the effortlessness of that try last week against Parramatta, it was exactly what we thought was going to happen. And I could see that kind of thing happening again against the Storm here. Not a gaping hole like that. Parramatta love to leave those open. The Storm don't do that because they're a first grade side. But, like something a bit tougher where he has to beat a player or two to get over the line. I was told, by the way, on the Weekend Turtles, I met a couple of people who watched the pod. And they were like, "Oh, we didn't realize you're a Parramatta fan. You always talk shit about Parramatta." It's like, yeah, because I love them. I love to hate them.
It's the only thing you can talk about Parramatta. Like, what are we praising them for? That they've scored the most points against Penrith this year? Like, that's pretty much the only thing we can praise them for.
Greatest
There's nothing else. Everything else is negative. Yeah.
More points than the Broncos, Roosters, and whoever else it was combined. But yeah, that's the Panthers there. Look, yeah, some good commentary, guys. I like when you guys drop the analysis in there too. It's pretty sweet. This is an interesting one here too. This isn't the Storm of old. This will be a Panthers ambush. They haven't really been up with it. Yeah, I kind of agree with you there. People doubting Papali'i as well. Trap 80 more minutes, got a try, didn't crack 60. Look, fair shout. I personally think he's got those pop games in him, but he was averaging sort of high 50s without tries, and he had the try game and he had lower stats. And it felt like a lot of guys in that Panthers team had lower stats in that game, except for Cleary, who had a bunch of try assists. But even then, Cleary's base is a bit lower than usual as well. So I'm not going to read into that game too much here because they just sort of watch Parramatta score tries in the second half. Now, for the Storm here, we got Fa'alongo in the back line. We talked about Warbrick, Howarth, Meaney, and Sualangi here. Then we're looking at Munster and Hughes in the halves, Atoka Manu, Grant, King in the front row, Chan, McDonald, Lear in the back row, and then Wishart, Moale, Hetherington, and Clark, who's been pretty good lately. Now, for the Storm, things to flag here. One, is it too late for Sua Fa'alongo? Two, who is carrying an injury in this Storm side, especially the back line? Three, Jarome Hughes and the mystery of the missing second half. 4, Stefano Atokomanu went up the tunnel, looked a bit dodgy, didn't have any tackle breaks. Are we worried? And 5, We're going to talk about, we've got more than 5. Harry Grant, we're going to talk about Joe Chan. There's a lot to talk about here. So for the Storm, I'm going to answer first. Suafea-Longo, is it too late? I personally reckon he's a guy that you could still jump onto here. Like, I'm just checking the price right now for Sua. But for him at 631K, look, it's not ideal. And if you've missed out for this long, I don't know what you were doing with your time, but you can still get on Suafea-Longo. The matchup coming up, as much as the Panthers game is not a good one, it's Warriors next week. But then you've got a good run of fixtures into round 12 where he plays as well. Doesn't have a bye till round 15. So I think Suafea-Longo is still viable, but I got to be real. If Turtles, I'm keen for your thoughts here too. If I had missed out on Suafea-Longo to this stage, I'd probably be too stubborn to get on at 631K. So I can see why a coach would just be like, you know what, I'm committing to the antipod. I hope he scores 5 points against the Panthers.
I understand why they're probably a little bit late, because I feel like I think 2 weeks ago it was kind of like people like, oh, are we buying Sua for Longo? And then we kind of also discussed Iongi at that stage. So a lot of people actually end up jumping on Iongi, and they didn't end up picking for Longo. So now that Iongi is injured, they're like, okay, I still need another back, similar price point, a little bit more expensive. So maybe that's why they're trying to get Sua now. I feel like against the Panthers, he's probably not a buy. It's probably a wait and see. But like you said, the next few matchups are a little bit more favorable. Warriors not so much, but everything after that is great. And then also when you're buying him for that round 12 play as well, because the Storm, they'll still have Jerome Hughes, they'll still have most of their forward pack as well. And Longo will be there probably very, very highly involved in that round 12. And we need 3 wing fullbacks to field a team in round 12. So if you're buying him now, you're essentially locking him in for that buy period. So I don't mind it. I think it's okay because he's still under 650K at the moment. He hasn't gone super expensive. It's just, Panthers matchup is a bit gross.
Yeah, it just feels late. But look, Fa'alogo, he's special, man. Like he's just scoring tries for fun. Like I could see that base improving as we go through the year as well, because he's racking up big run meters. And a guy like Fa'alogo, you just can't really stop him in attack. Like I'm a believer of it. Yeah. So you're saying Turbo, Tuapiki. Actually, Tuapiki is interesting. We'll get to the Warriors in a sec. He's an option. Now we'll quick fire pass through some of these guys. I want to mention Jerome Hughes because Hughes is a guy I was seriously considering last week. So my options were I either went Burton and Hamish Stewart, or I went Hughes and someone cheaper. I just sort of decided the cheaper guys weren't as good as Hamish, and I went, you know what, I'm going Hamish. I'll stick with Burton here. Now, Hughes had 57 points in like 50 minutes in this game. And I think he ended up with 58 or 60. Like he did nothing at all in the second half. And he's just an absolute shocker. Like he's so streaky, man. Like you can't do it, can you? You can't bring him in, right?
It's very streaky. So like whenever you have Hughes and Munster, they basically null each other a little bit. We always want to wait for one of them to get injured and then jump on whoever becomes the dominant half. Even if Wishart comes in and plays a role, it's if one of those two are injured, they basically take 20% of the stats of the other player. So that's where we see a huge uptick. And then even though they're streaky, that extra 20-30% of points ends up being a 60 average anyway. So it's kind of wild seeing him do so well in the first half and then end up not doing too much in the second half, but that's kind of what you got to expect with the Storm. And remember, they lost the game here too, so it wasn't like a lot of attacking stats were coming in the second half. Like the Cowboys scored 2-3 tries in a row and then ended up winning the game. So to me, until one of those players get injured, I'm going to avoid Munster and Hughes, but as soon as one of them goes down, I'm buying the other.
And we're getting this too. Thoughts on Asako going to the Storm? I think this is a belter of a signing for them. Look, they probably paid a bit of money for Asako. Like he's sort of at the peak of his powers a bit at the Dolphins. So I think he's a good option here because he's still relatively young. And with Nick Meaney leaving the club, they kind of lose that mid-game fullback backup that they normally have in the back line. So they've always had a guy that sort of slips into that spot. I think Asako potentially is that guy. So they also have Wishart leaving the club too, because him coming on and Munster going to fullback is another option they have as well. So I think with Asako coming in, he becomes that backup fullback and that winger who can score a bunch of tries for him. I assume this means that Xavier Coates will sign with PNG or something like that as well, but we'll come to that when it happens. Now, for the rest of the Storm here, Atoka Manu, I'm not panicking, but I was a bit worried about I don't know about the him walking up the tunnel. Like it really did scare me. It really did scare me. So yeah, he's one that you stick with if you have him, but you don't chase him. You're buying Twal instead of a Tokomati this week if you're buying a mid. I think is a pretty easy call. And then Joe Chan, I'm just going to flag it again. He's got those 30 games in him. He's obviously got some big games in him as well, but I think this one might be a bit of a crash back to earth. And everyone has red dots, so Joe Chan is a very, very, very easy loophole option even if your other options aren't that good. Just put him in emergency number 5 and hope for the best and prepare for the fact that it might be a 32 this week for Joe Chan. For the rest of the Storm here, look, no one else really we're going to chase here. Like Cooper Clark is a guy that I like as a player, but the role hasn't been amazing. If you needed a cash out, he's not the worst option, but I just wouldn't be chasing him. Now, Dragons v Cowboys. This one's a bit quicker, a bit easier. So we've got a Couchman back, obviously, for the Dragons here. Couple of changes that I'll hit here. So Farley comes in on the wing for Tyrell Sloan. That's an interesting one there because Farley is very cheap and available at center, which is a problem position. You got Lycan King Tongia coming in for the 5'8" spot there. I thought there might be a chance that they go a different way here and they go Gutherson to 5'8" and put Tyrell Sloan back to fullback. I think that's their best attacking roster, but it does mean that they would be giving up on Kyle Flanagan, which I don't think his dad is keen to do. So, yeah, I think it's going to be, King Tonga coming in potentially temporarily there. So, really, it's Farley in the back line that's interesting. For the back row here, because the front row, like we know, Gula, Cook, Couchman. Couchman being back, that hurts Cook. So, if you're a Cook owner, minutes are going to drop this week. Couchman, if you're a holder, keep sticking with him. Luciano and Sua, they're sort of bumped up in price a bit, not really worth it. Is it too late for Hamish Stewart is probably the big question here. Turtles with this bench here. So you've got Gula and Couch in the front row. Couch is a bit of a minute eater now. Ryan is still 3 weeks away. Laurie, Halangahu, and Sully aren't massive minute eaters. Is it too late to jump onto Hamish Stewart in that low 500s area?
I think if you do jump on him, you got to temper your expectations because last week he did basically all the work because both the Couchmans are out. Now that one of them is back, I feel like he's going to be taking all those hit ups and getting all those offloads. But he also had like a try assist as well. I don't think that's going to happen every single week. So if you do buy him, expect him to be around that 50, 55 points per week, and the clock's ticking. So if you're buying him now, you do have to understand that Ryan Couchman is coming back in 3 weeks, then they play one more week, and then they have a bye as well. So it gets a little bit tricky, but is it too late? I think it's too late. I think it's too late. And a lot of people already sold him. So yeah, I think it's too late for me.
Such a cracker of an option last week, though. Like that's why he was so hot last week because the matchup was so tantalizing for him. But yeah, I do agree. It's a shorter window here. I don't know. If you didn't get Hamish, by the way, if you didn't get Hamish and you went and got Twal or one of these guys instead, I wouldn't feel too bad about that. But 531K. 531K. Could he rock it up to 650? Like, his numbers weren't unsustainable last week. It was a big defensive work rate and just general lock play. Halangahu's still in the side here. Does he keep that spot when Ryan comes back? They play round 12, but they don't really have any origin contenders. I don't think anyone's desperate for a mid either. And he doesn't play after Haas. So if you're a Haas owner and you have to panic when he gets pulled out late or something like that, he doesn't help you there. Yeah, I kind of agree with you. It's probably a bit late here. Just go for the next guy. I don't think it's too late for Twal, by the way, if people are looking for middle forwards. But although if someone had a pair of trades, Turtles, and they needed to move Reed and someone else, and they were buying, Blake Braley or Harry Grant, and they needed a guy at 530K, I wouldn't oppose this move because the other middle forward options are bloody disastrous. Like there's nothing below him in terms of price that I can think of off the top of my head. So,
but most people bought extra middles last week, so that's why we saw an influx of Hamish Stewart, Twal, even Jackson Ford owners, because we had so many of our middles go down. Hopgood went down, Haas went down. Now we get and Mooney as well. Everyone has Mooney basically, so you shouldn't be strapped for forwards at the moment. And now if you held Haas, you have Haas as well. So all these players came back. I feel like you shouldn't have like 7 middles on your side. And I'm looking at some teams who are like, oh, Hamish Stewart scored 70 last week. I got to get him. And I'm like, well, you have like 6 middles. Like, do you really need a 7th? Like, it's kind of ridiculous. So to me, I feel like last week was the week to get him. If you needed a middle, let's say you bought Stewart instead of Twal, that's fine. But if you're looking at this week and you had to still needed a middle, I feel like Twal would be the better pick just because that job security is better. You want to be buying these players who play for, let's say, 6 to 7 weeks really quick. Is Stewart going to make you that 150K in the next 3 weeks? I don't think he does. I think he's going to probably cap out maybe maximum 100.
Juicy. Yeah. And we're getting asked too about the Farley job security. So Cliff Star asked that one. For Farley's job security, it's not good. I mean, there isn't any, is the answer. I think Farley is going to be a really good scorer, though. That's the thing. And the Cowboys matchup is a positive match. It's a plus matchup here as well. So I could see Farley like starting off with a massive score here. But yeah, look, Sloan could come back at any moment. Setutu wasn't bad either. Farley, I think Farley is the best player of the three. I was actually really surprised in preseason when he wasn't named in this spot. But obviously he hasn't been named in this spot until round 5 here. So they don't see it that way. You can get on Farley if you really want that bottom price cash out. Like but it's so risky. It's so risky there. And Val Holmes, I guess, potentially plays Origin, so maybe that helps you there. But it doesn't even really feel like Farley is the backup center. Buchanan jumped to that spot. So I think it's very risky. I think you need to give Farley a week, and if the Dragons win and if Farley plays well, those two things happen, then Farley is an option. If you want to take a risk now, you can, but just be aware that you are seriously playing with fire here. Now, for the Dragons, that's pretty straightforward. That's pretty much it. I'm holding Ryan Couchman at this stage, by the way. He's sticking in my side at the moment. I'll lock that in later in the week, but otherwise, he's sticking in there. Shout out too, we got about 1,072 people. So drop a like on the stream, guys, if you're enjoying it while we're going through. And that's super cool to see, even in round 5. Now for the Cowboys here, Drinky's at fullback here. Chester comes back into jersey 4. Halves stay the same. Forward pack is looking pretty similar. They've been doing a bit of shifting with their front row on game day and moving things around. McKaylee is back early. And Sonny Luke, the plague continues in jersey 14. He is not going away. Oh, Sonny Luke. Okay, we got to cover it again just here. Reed Marnie. I'm at my wit's end. I had hair when I bought Reed Marnie, and now I don't. You think that there's a chance, Turtles, you think there's a chance that he could be a hold here? Talk everyone through it just briefly here. You did cover it before, but it's worth covering again.
Okay, so with Reed Marnie, if you started with him, you basically haven't used any trades to get him. In total, I know he lost 34K last week, but in total, because he gained a whole bunch of money in the first week or two, he's only lost you 3K, which is basically nothing in fantasy. I know that hasn't been scoring well, and you probably don't have a backup hooker. If you had a backup hooker, it's just say you had Grant or Blake, and Reed Marnie was your backup, sell Reed instantly. But if Reed Marnie was your only hooker, I feel like you could probably wait a week, especially if you had a whole bunch of other players who aren't playing. So if you're like me, these are the fires that I'm dealing with, right? I have Setutu and Moses Leo, who aren't even named. So I want to get rid of as many red dots as I can before I start getting rid of green dots, because I feel like similar to not last week, the week before, if there's a whole bunch of chaos and I was holding like, I don't know, Dylan Brown or Kalen Ponga like a lot of other people were, then suddenly you have not enough trades to fix your team and you can't field a team. So for me, getting rid of all these players who aren't coming back or unlikely to come back is more important to me than getting rid of someone who's underperforming. I know he might lose a little bit of money, but so far I've only lost 3K. It's not that much. The plus side is versing the Dragons is probably the most favorable matchup. I don't know why, but Dragons are a very fantasy friendly team for both sides, the team that's versing him and for themselves as well. So this is probably the 1 week that you could hold him. I feel like this is, if he's going to score 50 plus in 60 minutes, it's going to be against the Dragons. If I had to pick the Cowboys to play any team and Reed Marnie to score 50 plus points, it would be against the Dragons. So for me, this week, it's probably a hold. I know it's a very hot take, and I'm probably in that 1% who actually think this, and everyone's going to rage trade him. And I kind of like that. I like that pot. If I hold him and he scores 50 and everyone jumped onto Grant and Grant scored 48, I'm going to be cheering. I'm going to be running victory laps next week.
I'll flag a few things here too. Jay mentioned that Reed was good last week, in his opinion, there. So, look, could be a shout there. We've got a few people mentioning Reed's their backup. Turtles is talking about a scenario where Reed's your only hooker. If he's a backup, you can definitely sell him. If he's your only hooker, it means you have to buy another hooker, and all the options are like the good options are overpriced, and the bad options are bad. So you've kind of got this scenario where you're a week away from Brandon Smith, who's going to last about a week before you have to deal with him as well. So it's just a tough spot. A few people asking about Drinkwater as well, and there was some. Here we go, thoughtful comment here from the real Jacob Preston. Love it. Can we talk about Scott Drinkwater at 580k? Scored a 66, 56. Plays Dragons this week, Broncos, then Manly. Good matchups. Broncos have let the wing fullback they play score Edwards 66, Yongi 67, Sewer 50, and Hammer 40. So not really crazy scores there, if I'm being honest. They're kind of around, like a bit above the average there. Drinkwater, he's a hard one to trust after that start, but the numbers are good. Let me get the Drinkwater stats up here, Turtles, because I think what I'm looking for here is that reversal of the trend in terms of run meters and tackle breaks in particular. So for him, the 2 rib games where he copped that rib issue, he was getting injections. He had 117 and 143 meters run. He had 3 and 3 tackle breaks. Since then, his return to form games has been 224 meters and 167, so both much higher. And he's had 7 and 4 tackle breaks in those games. There's been attacking stats, obviously, in these games as well. But what I'm looking for is that physicality back. And it looks like he's over that rib issue. So you can make a case for Drinky here. I'll just flag the fixtures here too. So Dragons, Broncos, Sea Eagles. But then you got Sharks, Bulldogs, Eels, Roosters, Rabbitohs in round 12, who will be missing some troops due to Origin. Doesn't play round 15 or round 18. So next bye is round 15. I'm not against it. Like I think if you like the wing fullback spot is not trustworthy. Drinky's not trustworthy either. At 579k, he's a pretty affordable option, especially if you're giving someone like Yongi the flick who's out for 2 months.
Yeah, I feel like Drinky, like I wanted to talk about him earlier because we were talking about Turbo. If I had the option between Drinky and Turbo, I'm definitely picking Drinky. I feel like Turbo is not going to last until Origin. For some reason, I feel like he's going to get injured somewhere between there. Drinky had that rib issue, but the past 2 games he's shown that he's kind of working through it. And on the plus side, Clifford started taking the goal kicking, which is a down for Drinkwater. But then when they realized that the game was on the line and they could actually beat the Storm, they started letting Drinky kick. So Drinky ended up getting that last goal for him, which essentially won them the game. Not just the try, but like the goals with the tries basically helped them win the game. So I can expect Drinky to probably start taking the goal kicking back soon, just because if the games are really close, I feel like he will get him. And the attacking stats are there. Like most of the attack for Cowboys runs through Drinkwater and Dearden. So it's just those 2. I don't feel like Clifford does too much in attack unless he's scoring the try himself. But the matchups are pretty decent. Like they're not versing the Broncos. Oh, they are versing the Broncos. They're not versing the Penrith Panthers. They're not versing the Storm in the next 9 weeks. And he plays the first game of Origin, round 12. So again, with that wing fullback position, we need 3 of them. If you had Drinkwater and Sewer, that's 2 of them locked down. So between Drinky and Turbo, especially those Iongi sellers, Drinky's my man.
We're getting a question too. What do they do with the cheapy edge back rows? So I think that's referring to Lasardi, Ryan Couchman, these types of guys. I think if you held them last week, you try to hold them again. Like Lasardi is potentially 2 weeks away now. So in that scenario, if you've got a team full of green dots, just stick with him and see what he can do. 2 weeks from him coming back. Last week we obviously talked about, selling him because we needed to. This week we have a lot of green dots back, so we're in a spot we can keep him. For the rest of the Cowboys team, a few people are flagging Tom Dearden legacy game here. Look, the Dragons love to concede tries, so maybe Drinky is an option if you want to take a gamble on him. Braden Burns, don't fall for it. He just does not play complete seasons. It's too risky. Purdue up and down. Forward pack here. Lukey, I'm just going to flag it. I was a bit concerned by these stats in his scoring last week. I sort of felt like we saw a drop from him. And as much as he still scored a 50, it was a 50 with a try, as opposed to 50 from 40 tackles and 100 meters run. So Lukey is starting to exhibit signs that he may fall off for fantasy. I wouldn't be surprised if we're considering selling Lukey before Origin, which is not what I want to do. I'm just going to flag it up. I'm seeing that trend sort of moving the wrong way. Cotter's been historically bad for fantasy this year. Maybe doesn't make Origin this year potentially on the back of this form, and maybe is interesting in round 12. But yeah, the Cowboys are really not that relevant. So we're going to keep moving through here. And we got the Titans and the Broncos. Turtles, you've had a few people upset in the comments, by the way, at you calling the Broncos a good matchup. Are you committing to the fact that the Broncos are a junk roster, or what's going on here?
What do you mean good matchup? Like for in regards to who?
For fantasy.
I forgot where I said that. Oh yeah, they're a good matchup. So depending which players you're targeting. So for example, if you're looking at Arama Howe this week because he scored so well last week, you want him versus Piakura and Ezra Mann because they are renowned for missing tackles in terms of fantasy. They might clean up the tackle and the player might not get a line break, whatever, but all those junk tackle breaks can come easily for Arama Howe here. So they are a very back and forth team, Broncos. Like, we're not the best defensive side, but we are very creative and we have that X factor through Walsh and Ezra Mam and all that. So that's why I'm saying it is kind of a fantasy friendly side to verse against, because your attacking plays will still score those tries because we're not the best defensive side. But yeah, I think they're like that. Yeah.
Okay, well, Titans could be a good matchup here. Also, just want to flag, guys, there's a few people getting a bit spammy in the comments, and a few people sending some really weird messages as well. But yeah, look, don't spam. If I see you've sent the message multiple times, I'm going to ignore you. Like that's how that works. So just send the message. You know, sometimes we'll cover all the topics in general, so it's all sweet. Now, Titans v Broncos here should be a pretty good game. These Queensland derbies always feel like they are. This is a great opportunity for Keanu Keeney, for Jaden Campbell. For, as we mentioned, the best forward in the Titans pack, Arama Howe, for the Broncos here. So Walsh at the fullback spot, for Brendan Piakura, you know, for Payne Haas potentially as well. For the Broncos, let's see the extended bench here. It's Jaden Hunt, and yeah, okay. I think Antonio was flagged as a guy who might debut soon. I'm pretty sure he's talented but very young from memory, but we'll look into him more. So for the Titans first, Fayamani had a shocker last week. He is one that I thought he'd have a breakout game by now. Like, I just sort of felt like he was going to be a bit up and down, and we've seen down and mid really from him. So it's either 30 or like 15. It's just been absolutely terrible there. You can't really sell him because he's under 200K, under 300K. So you just got to stick with him at this stage and hope that the Broncos let him score a try. But he's not a guy you can let anywhere near your 17. So just treat him like that. Keanu Keeney, Jaden Campbell. Keeney's fantasy form hasn't been special recently, but Jaden Campbell's has. So 2 tries in his first game back, 2 try assists last week. I just want to flag again, we talked about this a bunch. Campbell had those 2 tries in that first game back, and we said for Arama Howe, there's going to be a great opportunity for attack here because those lanes are going to open up as they tighten up on Campbell and start to double team Campbell. Even like, it's not even a strategy they run; it just naturally happens where they start to overcompensate. And we saw exactly that happen with Ho. What I didn't expect for Ho was that he was going to cook Gutherson like that. Like he broke the ankles of Gutho twice, which that blew me away. I didn't know he had that in the bag. So yeah, absolute cracker. Does Campbell interest you at all here, Turtles?
He does. I feel like a lot of the halves are just absolutely clicking. Like, so Campbell's firing, Hines is even scoring well, Dewey and Cleary are going really great. And most teams only have like 2 really good halves, and maybe they have a Sanders or Atkinson like lying on the bench. I feel like the quicker we earn money, the quicker we can buy more halves, because these players are scoring elite scores at the moment, and they're also very expensive because of that. But we always said Jaden Campbell was basically matchup proof. Like he scores well even if the side is losing heaps. And earlier I said Broncos, we're not a defensive juggernaut team. So teams which rely on their attacking stats, players who rely on their attacking stats to boost into that really elite tier, Jaden Campbell, Arama Howe, I feel like these guys can feast in this game. This is what I mean by fantasy friendly. They can still score. We can easily picture Arama Howe getting a nice line break through Jaden Campbell and scoring a try against Ezra Mam and Piakura. This is very, very plausible. So JC, a buy, yes, if you have $1 billion. Right now, most people don't have $1 billion. So he will at some stage be a juicy buy, especially because he doesn't play Origin as well. And then that's where you see Cleary and all the Origin halves disappear. So JC will be a buy. Not for me right now. It's just a bit too expensive.
Yeah, I like him a lot. Like if I had an ability to reset my team, do it like in the EPL fantasy, running like a wild card week where I just change my entire roster, I probably would look at
Mm,
Campbell for the matchups and because of the lack of origin, like you said. We're also 2 weeks removed from him returning from a hamstring issue. So that first 2 weeks, according to physio anyway, I read him say it once, that first 2 weeks is the real injury zone. So I could see Campbell absolutely killing it here. We're getting questions about Ho here, and a lot of people are saying the base is low. Arama Ho is the new Joe Chan, blah, blah, blah. He's going to get on 29 this week. Getting this question as well. Do you go Twal or Ho? That type of question too. I want to talk about Ho as someone who has had Arama Ho since preseason, right? So has had him from the jump, was an enjoyer of the statistical profile, but
mm.
he wasn't like a must pick for me. Like I didn't predict that he was going to score an 87, if I'm being honest. But I like the profile for him. Like he's got attacking upside. He averaged in sort of the low 40s there in reserve grade. And playing next to Jaden Campbell, we talked about a lot in the first 2 weeks where he was in try scoring opportunities and said when Campbell comes back, that's going to open right up for Armour here. So I like him in my side, but at 450K, do I like him as a buy right now? It's a bit dicey. I mean, they have good matchups here, but he's exhibited the fact that he can miss, 5 to 7 tackles in a game. Like as much as we talk about Ezra Mam and Brendan Piakura, missing a few tackles and maybe letting him score, they're also guys who can bust a tackle. And Piakura has been running within 10. Ezra Mam has created tries, all through his career. So I look at that and go, I think it might be too late for Aramaho if you don't have him. Like, unless it perfectly suits your side, it's just too late. You just got to look for the next one. And it's probably a bit audacious for me to say this. The next Aramaho is Brendan Piakura. Like, really, like Aramaho, I'm being dead set, bro. Aramaho was scoring like in that 30s area, that low 30s, that high 30s area for ages, just missing tackles, pretty good base there, a couple of offloads, running his meters there, but just not quite working out. Brendan Piakura is in that zone right now. He scored the 30 last week. He's at 100 plus meters when you look at it for a full 80 minutes there across both his games. In that last game, I think it was about 120 meters. He had a few missed tackles, of course, and didn't break his way. He's not going to not score tries forever. So I just think instead of getting last week's last week's Ho, you get this week's Piakura, right? That's how I see it. I'd rather be ahead of the trend because if you didn't have Ho, I mean, I had Ho. I've made 200K out of him. I got the 87 points out of him last week. You're just jumping on late. So if he bombs now, we both bomb together, but you didn't get the upside. Like that's where I think it's a better play to never go late. But if you're someone who's in a league and you're a head-to-head coach and everyone you verse sucks at fantasy, then it's not too late, right? But if you're going against like good coaches, if you're trying to win overall, then you just got to try and like take the risk and go against the crowd a bit. So that's my take on Ho there. I'll invite your thoughts here too, Turtles, on Ho and Piakura and that comparison. Like, what do you think here?
Yeah, I think you're spot on here. Basically, if this is what we mean by like don't kind of chase the points from last week. A lot of people are like, oh wow, he scored so big and he looked great on the field. It's like I bought him last week. I got like nearly 100K out of him. If you jump on him now, you're gonna already miss that 100K that I've earned. Yeah, you might earn a little bit more because his break even's very low. But if he comes out and scores a 30 or a 40, which we know he has that in his game, just because I think one game he had 7 missed tackles, which brings his score down really, really badly. So if he does that again, then all you've done is miss out on the 90K that I earned last week and got a stinker of a score. So I don't mind the Piakura shout. I laughed originally just because he's our mascot. Like, I don't hate Piakura. It's just if you want if you want to get ahead of the pack, yeah, Piakura is a great shout. Look, we're versing the Titans. Next week we're versus the Cowboys. Neither of these teams are that great in defense. So if you want to try be a little bit crafty here, then Piakura is probably that way to go. And he's significantly cheaper too. So not too bad.
Also, we're getting some comments here. Piakura will get hurt or concussed. Don't do it. You had me believing what you were saying up until you said Piakura. You better have Piakura in your 17 after that comment. Saying Piakura is a good fantasy player is like saying Jeffrey Dahmer was a good host. Look, it's not necessarily me saying Piakura is 100% going to be good. Like, he's a cash out, so he shouldn't be in your 17 on a week-to-week basis. The point of him is like, he's not competing against Ho, competing against Chen. He's competing against Sam Tuavidi. Like, he's competing against that tier of player, right? So It's a completely different option there. I mean, look, if you're a believer, if you think, look, let me just hammer the success and failure outcomes. If Ho scores tries, maybe 2 tries in the next 4 weeks, he probably is successful. If he doesn't score those tries, he's probably a failure of a buy. That's how I see it. If you think he's going to keep scoring those buys, the break even is low. But everyone said that about Chan last week, and Chan made 50K, and he's going to top out after another 25K. Like, you can't chase, break evens at 400K plus. You can chase a break even at 250, at 300, at 320. You can't chase at the top there. So if you don't like Piakura, that's fine too. Actually, Gamercon just mentioned it here. Same argument for Chan. Exactly right. So we're against Chan, and we're probably against Ho, even though we're going to be cheering if Ho goes well, because he saved my week last week, man. Now, for the Titans here, Randall had a better score. Tino's just stayed terrible for fantasy. I don't know what's going on there because he's such a good player, and he's playing so badly. Morin, Bai, Fodawaker, Pasco, it's all kind of not hot. So jump across to the Broncos here, and for them, Shibasaki gets back into the center spot. I'm sure Jay will be very happy about that one. It means our bet is still alive. Ezra Mam, Adam Reynolds in the halves here. Jensen in the front row was good last week, but Payne Haas gets named to return. Back row is all looking the same. Hunt, Wilson, Tolti, Taufa. A lot of minutes on that bench there for the Broncos. Walsh is the first one here, and look, if you don't have Walsh, the issue with Walsh, especially with Ponga injured, is he's pretty much guaranteed an origin spot. And even if he didn't get picked at starting fullback, he'd be in your 19-man squad anyway. I'm assuming they run 19-man for origin. So it's a tough one to buy Walsh right now, but the fixtures coming up are delicious. And he's gone 3 back-to-back games, all 50+. I reckon if you don't own Walsh, you're in for a world of pain over the next month. And as much as a lot of fantasy theory says don't buy him, Turtles, I think you probably should be looking at him pretty hard.
I feel like all our arguments for David Fifita and having that huge boom game is basically the same as Reece Walsh. Reece Walsh, obviously, he's been scoring well. He's been getting those 50s, and that's great. Let's say that's his floor. We can still see his ceiling. We're still yet to see his ceiling. Reece Walsh can easily pump out at 80 or 90 if it's his day. And we haven't seen him do that yet, but he has the potential to do that. That's the same thing you're looking for in David Fifita. You're looking for that 70-80 game, which we know he has that potential for. It's just we haven't seen it yet. So if he's on your side, you're definitely playing him. I probably say Reece Walsh outscores Sewer this week. So if you didn't have either or, you can only fit one, I'll probably get Walsh. And I really like Drinkwater for some reason. I feel like Drinkwater is the thing because I feel like a lot of people had Ioni and that's why they're looking for a wing fullback. But most of us have Walsh. I think he's at 40% own or something. So if you have him, enjoy the ride. But he's basically locked in for Origin.
Yeah, I mean, I'd pick him over Drink though. I'd pay the money.
Yeah, I'll pick him over Drink. Yeah, if I needed to. That's what I'm saying.
He's going to be good here. We've got a few people. By the way, Phil Eel, legend, great guy. I've met him a few times in person at Para stuff. He mentioned that Patston is suspended for 2 weeks. So that's great news for Amaho. A few people asked about Origin as well. What happens during Origin when Fodawaker and Tino gets picked and Firma? I think it's very ambitious to assume that Fodawaker will get selected. He's been really average. Tino will get picked 100%, and Firma was playing better last year and he didn't get into the team for some of the games. So I don't think it impacts Ho at all. Ho plays 80 minutes. Probably worse for Ho, actually. But Cooper Bai could potentially be better through that period. You're probably not selling Bai if you haven't, but you're definitely not targeting him. Payne Haas, 40 minutes max here. I think if Haas is fit, he's playing the game properly and he's playing 45 to 55 minutes is where I'm going to put it. So it's a bit lower than usual, but not crazy low. And if he's not fit, he's not going to play, right? They're the two options there. I don't think it's going to be some in-between thing where he plays like 30 minutes. Like, it's a pain management issue. So it's going to flare up in 30 minutes or 60 minutes, right? So I think they're going to give him a go. Turtles, what do you see for Haas this week? Like, do you think he will play, I guess is the first question. And do you think he's going to go well against the Titans here?
I'm going to answer that with one quick statement. I'm captaining Haas this week. I love the pod captain. No one's going to do it. Everyone's going to be on Cleary. It's going to be a great matchup against the Storm. I just think the pod captain is very, very reliable with Payne Haas. It's not like I'm doing someone like Reece Walsh where he has that low 40s or 50 in him. I feel like Payne Haas will minimum score 60 here. And we've seen Titans get blown out before, and Payne Haas can easily score tries, especially along the edges. Like if he's running at someone like Jaden Campbell or Lachlan Ilias, I feel like he's just going to run him over. And then Keanu Keeney's not a big defensive fullback either. So Payne Haas, I feel like he's going to get a try here. Even if he gets 55 minutes, I'm more than happy. I don't see him playing 40 minutes. If there's the Broncos aren't stupid, right? So we're not going to be risking one of our star players if he's half injured and we're going to play him for like 40 minutes. If he's fit, he's fit. He's going to play 50 plus, and I think in that 50 minutes, he's going to score huge.
Brother, that is wild. That is wild. Okay, juicy. We got the pod captain here. I'm gonna check in with you later in the week to see if you're still on that, because you're not locked in yet. You can still rethink it. We got the dichotomy, by the way, of Joe Chan buyers here. So we have one who's going not on topic. Are we selling Joe Chan for IPAP or Smith? So we got a Joe Chan seller, and then we've got denial here from Sean. Chan still has a break even in 16. He'll make people another 100K. So you've got people going, all right, time to sell Joe Chan, and others going, nah, I'm in denial. He's still going to get it done. So yeah, look, Joe Chan, if you have him, you stick with him. Obviously, hope he makes that cash, but be realistic, and just remember that historically the numbers weren't great. But he has those big attacking games in him too, so I wouldn't freak out too much. Piakura will score this week. Walsh is a sell at some point. Yeah, look, Walsh will be a sell through the origin period, 100%. But this next month, I just think Walsh is going to be unbelievable. Craig Bell in the NRL asking about Walsh as captain. It's a viable option the same way a Walsh captaincy is viable every week. It's a risky option in the same reason as well. So I personally don't like riding the roller coaster like that, because Walsh's floor is like a 25, and it can happen at any moment with Walsh. So if you want to roll the dice here, you want to take a big gamble, you're going to have a lot of fun watching this game, but it could be dangerous. Herbie is a much safer captain against Manly. I think that's a really good option this week if you do want to go away from big Nathan Cleary. And how do I join Discord? It's in the link of every video description, including this one. So check it out there. Then here we go. Longy looking good from the USA. Thank you, mate. With the egg, that's right here. Payne Haas is going to baby his little bro, Tino. Yeah, and Cleese Haas there as well. That's a big move there too. So look, that's the Broncos there. I think we've got the vibe of them. Pat Carrigan, I'm not that interested, even though he scored well last week. You can't chase Corey Jensen. You can't chase Xavier Willison. Yeah, all those guys are no-go. Shemet Subasaki, if you're desperate for a center, I think he's like 430K. He's got a reasonably high break-even week, but again, those Walsh fixtures I'm talking about are also Shibasaki fixtures. And he started the year absolute garbage, but we know he's an Origin player and an Australia player now, so could potentially bounce back here. Now, Sharkies v. the Waz. Now we always talk about this. Hamlin Uele is in the 17, so that's kind of a change for the Sharks, right? But really, yeah, it's the same team. So Kennedy's still at fullback. Backline looks the same. Halves are the same. Neil Blake, Braley, Rudolph in the front row. I'm not reading it out. I refuse. Jesse Colquhoun. I've had a few people asking about this. Do you sell Colquhoun right now? Do you panic here? No Cameron McInnes. There was talk he might be back in round 5. That's obviously not true now. What do you think here, Turtles? It's a pretty easy one, right? You stick with him, you make the cash, you move on, right?
Yeah, basically. So I'm in a kind of a bit of a wild position, but Colquhoun has made me about 120K. He's about 30 or 40K away from David Fafita. This might be a great opportunity for me to just go Colquhoun to David Fafita, and that's a monumental upgrade because Colquhoun's also got a short clock because McInnes is coming back as well, and it didn't look too great last week because he did score a try and he still only scored in the low 40s, which isn't great. The plus side here is the Warriors really like to play through the middle, so this can work one of two ways. Basically, he's either going to get a whole bunch of tackles, which boosts his stats, he'll probably get a 50, or the Warriors are super dominant and then he gets a whole bunch of missed tackles. And without Barnett, I feel like that dominance won't really be there. Obviously, James Fish-Harris, we've seen that aggression from him already, and Jackson Ford's been looking good. Colquhoun, I'm pretty sure he's got like a 15 or 16 break even, so it's probably not the right time to sell him. You could probably milk him for a little bit more cash, but if you're desperate for a trade and it was between Colquhoun and David Fafita, then obviously you'll be trading Colquhoun first.
Yeah, Collins a safe 40. He's a safe 40.
Mm.
And when he was scoring low 50s, we said he was a safe 40. And when he scored 40 with a try, we're saying he's a safe 40. Like he's just a 40 guy. Like don't get too high or too low on your players based on 1 week. We know who Colin is. Then Sharks for the win. Yeah, I think the Sharks could easily win this game. And I was shocked last week when I tipped the Sharks. They were outsiders in that game last week, which against the Raiders, which sort of really shocked me. So yeah, they should be good. Look, Colhoun to go off against the Wars. Yeah, look, Colhoun's going to be fine. It's going to be a tough game. Here we go. Warriors going to run circles around the Sharks. Yeah, Colhoun, you definitely stick with him. People asking about Britton Nakora as well. On the Nakora front, I mean, he's not named again. He obviously had that like broken nose. Maybe it's just not going great. They're lucky that they have Billy Burns and Teague Wilton, who are really good backups as well. So they're probably just thinking, hey, these guys are almost as good as Nakora. We'll just stick with him. For Nico Hines, Kale Ero, these types of guys. I mean, Ero is starting to become an interesting option. I just want to get the numbers here. I look at him at center and just sort of go, if I needed a center right now, which I don't because I have the glorious Bradman Best and Tom Chester, a great center pairing. But for him, yeah, it was starting to turn around, right? And you think, okay, last week, let me read you some numbers here. Ero had 122 run meters, a bit low. He had 6 tackle breaks, and he had a line break try for 28 points. He had 10
sounds
missed
good.
tackles and 3 errors.
Oh, that's
10
terrible.
missed tackles. The guy had 7 in 3 games before that. And he had 10 missed tackles against the Raiders. Like, Kale Ero is allergic to scoring well in fantasy. Now, you throw in the fact that he's got a buy in round 7 and a buy in round 12. So he's not that useful in the short term, and he's not that useful for Origin Week 1. It's not looking good. It's not looking good for Ero at this stage. Like I think he bounces back at some point, but I just think you got to steer clear of him right now with this form he's got. And the Warriors are a team like, I don't know if he's up against CNK or Pompey here, but they're both very physical ball runners. They're both guys who can bust a tackle. So yeah, it's looking pretty scary for him at this stage. For Tuapiki here, though, for the Warriors, because I think we know who Hines is. We can skip off him. For Tuapiki at the Warriors, do you have any interest in him, Turtles? I think he's in the 400s. I think he was 460 last week. He's now at 478K. Do you like that at all after the 39?
Not really, because I'm trying to lock in my wing fullbacks and get somewhat of 3 above average scorers. So if you have people scoring that like low 40s average, I feel like they're kind of just very middling. For my wing fullbacks, I want people who can score me kind of like a 50 average. That might include an 80 game and then a 40 game and then kind of balancing out somewhere between there. But I don't think Tuapiki has that in him. And if the Warriors lose this game, which some people are expecting, like who's to say that they stick to this formation? Like it's very easy for Chance to go back into wing fullback and Tuapiki to either come off the bench or not play at all. So the job security is not there. I would much more like Reece Walsh, Sua Falongo, Drinky, and then Turbo. That'll be my top 4, and I'll probably pick. They're not even that expensive. They're not like Latrell Mitchell where they're like 750K. These are all decently affordable players except for Reece Walsh. So Tuapiki probably not for me. If you do get him, he's probably going to average in that maybe 45 area if you're lucky, and if you get some attacking stats as well. It's just I feel like the Warriors play off their middles. It's not really a back dominant side.
I'll flag here, though, just a few good things. Because I agree with you. I think low 40s is sort of where he averages. He has a buy in round 10 and a buy in round 14. So he plays round 12 and round 15. So he covers the opening 2 buy rounds. Upcoming fixtures aren't great. So Sharks and Storm next 2 weeks is not good. But then you have Titans, Dolphins, Eels, Broncos, Dragons. Right? So it's a good run there.
Those are 5 juicy matchups.
Yeah. A few people are flagging he's going to be a slow burn. I kind of agree with that. I think he won't pop immediately. But then the question is, does he keep the spot, right? Because they get some guys back. Like Leotau wasn't playing badly. That's the risk there with Tuapiki. So I like him if you're in a spot where you need a wing fullback for sub 500K and it allows you to get 12 with your other trades. Something like that, I can see the appeal. But I wouldn't be chasing him over the other wing fullbacks we talked about. I think is a pretty easy assessment there. Then for the rest of the Warriors team here, I mean, backline, not really interesting. Tanner Boyd kept up the scoring to an extent with Luke Metcalf back. Bit back to earth there. A 60 is still good. It's too late to chase Tanner Boyd, too expensive. But if you have him in your team, you stick with him. Metcalf's going to get cheap. I think he's got 17 last week. So at some point, we'll look at him. In the forward pack here, Fisher Harris, he's put the offload away. Not as interesting anymore. Jackson Ford, if you bought Jackson Ford, you got very, very, very lucky because Mitch Barnett's out for 4 to 6 weeks with a thumb, which means Ford is going to go back to that 80-minute role or potentially 70 minutes here. What was going to happen is Ford was going to drop back to 60 minutes with Barnett back and eating up more minutes. So, yeah, lucky break for Ford owners there. And as a non-Ford owner and someone who's publicly very against Ford, I'm pretty salty about it. For the rest of the forward pack here, Halasima, I think he scored in the teens last week as well, so that wasn't great. Laban bounced back with a 50. It's just all over the place in this forward pack. So I think we can skip past them and just sort of say, hey, Warriors pack, they're great in real life. They're not that interesting for me in fantasy. Now, Knights v Raiders up next. And for Newcastle, Fletcher Hunt's still at fullback. There's a bit of talk that Dylan Brown might be back in round 10 as well. I've heard that. So that's a longer horizon now for him. If you have him, I guess look for that information. I'll share it as I get it too. But in the back line, it's pretty straightforward. It's very much the same. Sharp's there, Sanders there. Forward pack here. Safidi's been playing great footy. We saw last week as well, Mooney comes back into the starting side, but I thought Basami Solo was like the best player on the field over the opening 25 minutes. Like totally dominant, ran the ball, like punched through the line every single time he got the ball and was hitting like a truck. I think he had 40 points in 25 minutes in fantasy too. Like he was unbelievable. So I think that's a big risk here because does Mooney lose those minutes? Safidi was one of the best players on the field last week too. I think Safidi's why they beat the Dogs. And then Matt Croker, he's kind of steady, but he's playing lock, so it's a bit of a different situation there. So I personally think, and I'm not selling Mooney right now, Turtles, but I think we're going to be in a scenario in a couple of weeks where we're going, wow, Mooney's been disappointing after that suspension. The minutes have dropped down a bit. The involvement's dropped down a bit. Is it time to sell? Like that's my prediction right now, just because of how good Solo was last week.
I feel like because he scored a bit low before he got or when he got suspended, it's going to stunt his cash generation. And I feel like a lot of people over the next 2 or 3 weeks, especially against this really, really dominant Raiders pack, it's not like Jacob Safidi is going to come out here and bully Josh Papali and Tarpanay like they did the Bulldogs. The Bulldogs basically have a small forward pack, and they used to be really good in defense because their small forward pack was really agile and they'll have really fast rushing defense to limit that momentum build up. Whereas the Raiders, they have a massive forward pack. So, like, I don't think you're going to see that bullying or aggressive style coming out of Solo and Safidi or even Mooney here. So, this is where coaches are going to get divided. I feel like some coaches are going to be like, no, Mooney's still that 50 average guy. We can hold him until he basically completely burns out or gets injured, and that's fine because obviously he's not going to be playing Origin either. And some people are going to be like, oh, his cash gen's dumped. Everyone's telling me not to sell for Feeder, not to sell Cahoon. Maybe I sell Mooney because I need a little bit more money to get rid of Reed Marnie or something. So I'm really liking the amount of chaos that's going around because for a while I felt like our teams were all starting to look similar because we all started picking up the same cheapies. Now where we start selling our cheapies, this is where it gets interesting and you're going to see huge pods come out. So I'm personally going to hold Mooney because I think he is still going to be that 50 average. I believe in that, even though he might have some quiet games. I think I'm just going to keep holding him.
Yep, good shout. I'm sticking with him most likely too. If you had no fires to put out though, and you could move him to 12, for example. Like I couldn't talk you out of a move like that, but that's a very rare scenario. Now, got some good comments coming here too. Enthusiast, I saw Enthusiast at the pub on the weekends. That was good to watch the game with you, mate. I was pumping up Solo before and Burton before the game, and that was a nice one to be validated on. Crossland, 50 base in every game besides when he played in the halves. Crossland's a steady option here. My concern about Phoenix Crossland is that Harrison Graham was one of the better players on the field last week when they beat the Dogs. And that's concerning because Crossland either gets less minutes, which might happen. You saw his nose last week. Like he might be preserved, or goes to lock. With one of those two. Like if you want to go for Crossland, you're playing with fire, but the upside is definitely that he is very steady when he gets the role, which doesn't ever happen for an extended period of time. So if you want to take the gamble, you can. If not, I'm not either. Then as a best owner, I hate Sandon. Best side gets the ball. Yeah, look, Sandon is he's very ball dominant, but Brad Best, I mean, he scored a 42 last week. He's averaging 40 or whatever it is. We just keep riding here at this stage, us best owners, and hope for the best, right? And then I predict Croker injury like every year. Yeah, yep. Marnie caused my team so much pain. I'm gonna sell Mooney right now from Psycho Dying. Crossland shout. Yeah, look, a lot of people are asking about Crossland. Read the Crossland. Read the Crossland. If you want Crossland, you can do it. The upside is he's a bit more like Jake Simpkin than you think, though, where it's great. It's 50 points if he gets the 80 minutes, but he never gets the 80 minutes, right? So I think he's risky, but if you want to go, you can go. Now, that's most of the nights there. I think we're not really going to go into the other guys in this side. So we'll jump across to the Raiders here. And for Canberra, got Weeks at fullback. Tamale was good a couple weeks ago. Halves, we got the Ethans still. Sanders, another good game from him in a tough matchup. I was impressed by that sort of low 40 score there. For running, actually, Sanders had, I think it was 90 run meters in that game, or 80 run meters, like something way higher than what he usually has. Did you see anything there, Totals, that sort of indicates a bit of a change in style from him, or what are you thinking there?
So just quickly checking his run meters. Yeah, he had 81 run meters, so he is pushing up into the right direction. The first 2 weeks he ran only about 20 meters per game. Round 3, he's gone up to 50. Now in round 4, he's gone 80 meters. So we're seeing an upwards trend. And what we want to see in our halves, I think we've discussed this before, the 100-meter gain rule. He's basically very close to that. So over the next 2 or 3 weeks, you're probably observing him and watching him. You're not going to sell him. You're not going to go out and buy him. I think you probably missed the boat. But he's going in the right direction. And again, he's probably not a sell. So I do like what I'm seeing from him. And I feel like the Raiders should get better. The team is very solid. It's just they got to get that synergy going. And we don't need people like Corey Horsburgh having that brain explosion. So I feel like Sanders is safe plug and play. He's going to have those low 40s in his game, but I don't think he'll ever score you under 40. And if he scores really well, it's probably like the 55 area. So very, very solid hold.
We're getting asked too, like, should you start him in your 17? So this guy here up the wires has Sanders, Macassini, or Colhoun. Colhoun is a rock solid 40. Macassini is, I mean, we'll look at the matchup when we get to it. I think it's a friendly one against Parramatta on Easter, but not in that tier. And Sanders against Newcastle is a very positive matchup. We saw Galvin go 50 plus and Burton go 60 plus. So I think Sanders is a pretty safe shout this week. I'm probably going to try and put him in my 17, but I don't know if he makes my 17. That's the issue there. I've got a few holes in my team, but unfortunately none of them are on the bench. Now, Sasungi, when is he getting center duel? Probably like round 7. I feel like you ask this every week, Jacob, and why do you care? You're not buying Sasungi anyway. I guess it's a matter of principle. You should have it already, but hey, we roll. Now, for the rest of the Raiders here, there's guys like Tarpanay, Hudson Young. People are asking about Corey Horsburgh. Do they sell him? I think the one that's interesting here is probably Tarpanay. It's probably not this week. As much as this is a positive matchup, I want to see a couple of weeks in a row of Tarpanay going well before I get him. And personally, I'm putting it off as long as I can. Because the worst thing you could do is you buy Tarpanay on a false rise, he drops off again, and you're stuck with Tarpanay because you're saying, oh, well, we have Origin in 4 weeks. I have to keep him for that, right? So that is what scenario you don't want to create for yourself. So leave Tarpanay until the last second is my advice. Unless he starts popping off, I'm aiming for like round 10, round 11, round 12 to bring Tarpanay in. But I don't know if he even plays round 12 anyway. But yeah, he's a guy I've got on the watch list there too. Now, whipping through Easter Monday game, and this is our final game, and then we'll go to some trade questions as well. So Eels versus Tigers, two teams that have, the Eels beat the Broncos, Tigers beat the Warriors. They've both had some big wins, and they both lost some pretty embarrassing ones as well. For Parramatta here, Joash Papali'i comes in at fullback. He's been a decent scorer in the past when he plays fullback at Parramatta. What's your read on Joash here, Turtles? And do you think he's a must for this week? Do you think it's maybe a next week proposition? Where's your head at?
If you're someone like me and you have a whole bunch of these red dots, like I have, Setsutu and Moses Leo, and I'm not mad about Moses Leo. Like I started with him, so he's made me 100K. If I go to Joash here, suddenly I've profited a tiny little bit, and it doesn't hurt too much. But so I think the opportunity is there because we know Ione is out for a minimum of 8 weeks, and he's created even enough to get some attacking stats. I feel like his defensive work rate and his overall work rate isn't that high. I feel like he's going to kind of rely on those attacking stats, similar to like Suafolongo, but like a budget version, obviously, and obviously now playing for the Eels instead of the Storm. So if you do buy him, don't expect 50s. You're probably looking at that 30 to 40 range, in my opinion. If he gets a try, maybe a 42 or 43. So he's not going to burn the house down, but you are buying him for sub 300k. So you're getting what you pay for. There's probably 100, 150k to make here.
He's not going to burn the house down as a like that's a low bar, man. I will say I'll flag a few things here with Joash. Has a buy in round 12, so he's not useful that week. You've got a good run of fixtures though. So Tigers this week, Titans, Bulldogs, Seagulls after that. So that's a pretty good 4 games here. His average and reserve grade when he plays fullback is a 38 across 38 games played. So good sample size here from at fullback. That's on the back of a 0.2 try scoring rate though. So really low try scoring rate. I think he can improve that. 0.8 try assists. So he's very creative at the fullback spot. And 1.2 line break assists is really high as well. Not massive in terms of meters run here. So 2.5 tackle breaks and 128 meters run is a bit lower for him. So he's going to rely on those attacking plays. I agree with you there completely. And the stats indicate that as well. I just think at that price, 260k, either this week or next week. Like you don't have to do it this week. If it suits the team, do it this week. But his break even's like a 39 or a 40 this week. So you can leave it till next week as well. Because my projection for him would be about a 40 this round. So I'd say one more week for most coaches and you get Joash. If you need the cheapie this week, then feel free to pull the trigger this week. If I was trying to plug a guy into the end of my 17 and I needed a guy who was cheap, I'd go Pierre Kuru over Joash. I'm going to say it again. The Pierre Kuru Express. Now, for the rest of Parramatta here, we're looking at, I mean, Moses had a howler last week. He was really bad for fantasy. A lot of people were asking, why didn't we include Moses by wholesale? There's your answer. For the rest of the back line, no real interest here. Russell's had some games, but you're not jumping on him. Turtles, I got to say, mate, sorry for Jackie Williams here in Jersey 8. What went wrong, man?
Basically, he had way too many missed tackles. He looked a little bit clunky. I feel like losing either Hopgood and then Jack DeBellin because he's been dropped. He's kind of just slumping around a little bit. There's too many times where I'm just looking at him, he's just walking around, and I'm just like, what are you even doing? Like, go take a hit up or something. You know, he was my cheeky pod to start the year, and started the year quite consistent, very reliable. He had a 53 average for the first 3 games, which was great. Last week, obviously, they're not going to verse the Panthers every week. Again, I'm not selling him. Same with Reed Marnie. I'm not selling him either. I'm just going to hold these players until basically I fix all the rest of my team. I feel like he's not an urgent sell. Obviously, if you went out and bought him, you're probably a little bit filthy because Hamish Stewart and Twal went so well. But if you have him now, just hold him. So I don't think he's ever going to play Origin. He's got dual position, so you can plug and move him around if you need as well. Would I move him to 12? I probably wouldn't. I feel like if you've chosen Williams over 12 last week, you just got to accept the fact that you lost that, and I wouldn't burn a trade to fix my error here. I feel like Williams should still be getting that 50 average.
We got flagged here. Twal has the best tackle percentage in the NRL era. I'd make that move 100%, by the way. Like if you didn't have Twal, you then made the put out, and you went, hey, I'm going Jack Williams to Twal. Great. Good move. Like the thing with Twal, let's jump to the Tigers here and talk about Twal. For Twal, last week versus this week, they're really different propositions here. So last week when you were looking at Twal, it was on the back of 2 games around 60 minutes a game. We know he's a PPM guy. That hasn't changed. And he's a guy who is in a Tigers team that just lost Jerome Luai and was going over to New Zealand up against an undefeated Warriors and looked like they might struggle in attack. So there were some red flags, but there was also a lot of positive stuff. Coming to this week, you're paying 50K extra. But what do we have? We have proof in that Warriors game that 1, he was their best forward on the pitch. 2, when the Warriors scored late and brought it back to a 1-score game, Benji Marshall immediately put Twal back on. That tells you everything you need to know. When the game's on the line, even though he's played his 60, 65 minutes, Benji went, you know what, stuff that. Twal's gone back out there and winning us this bloody game, right? So I love that in a guy because that means that he has the belief of the team. It means that if they lose a game, he's not going to get hooked. He's not going to get moved around. He's not going to lose his minutes there. He's viewed as the best forward at the club, basically, right? So that's the sign. That was the moment where I thought, yep, done, must have. Without that moment, it was still very subjective. That moment has changed everything for Twal. I think if you can get him into your team this week, you have to try to do it. Now, a lot of people are selling a hooker and they're a bit desperate for someone to replace Reed. So a lot of them can't get Twal because they're going for a top tier hooker. Bren Smith is not named. I was kind of hoping he would be so that we could, even though he is disappointing, bring him into the team. So you might be someone who misses Twal this week and has to buy him next week. I'm going to say it ahead of time. I think he's still worth the price at 680K if he continues this form. So if you can get Twal into your team this week, awesome. If you can't, he's probably still worth it next week as well. Don't panic too much. The money is not going to change like to a crazy extent there because he is already so expensive. So yeah. Oh, by the way, Peter mentioned this too. Offloads. Yeah, the offloads are there. One of them was a tricky offload as well. It was like a little, flick sort of offload there that we don't normally see from, Alex Twal. So yeah, Frost King, legend, just got Twal last week. Good shout there. I think we're both on the Twal Express. Now, for the rest of the Tigers team here, Turts. Yeah, but by the way, Twal, I think will be by number one and by wholesale. Bit of a spoiler there. But for the Tigers here, look, Savannah gets named again. He's interesting. People have asked about Dream Buller. I'm not a Dream Buller fan for fantasy whatsoever. Taruva, Makassini. I mean, this could be a good matchup for Makassini. Parramatta have leaked a few points in the back line. He's startable. He's not a priority start for me, but he's startable if you need to. Adam Dewey, that was interesting. So, mate, watch that game, Turtles. They had the commentary team was sitting there at halftime going, Adam Dewey, there's no sign of any hamstring issue, no sign he's inhibited at all, blah, blah, blah. And I'm looking at my phone, looking at the stats, and I'm like, 0 kick meters, and he's not goal kicking. Like, what do you mean? Like that hammy was definitely bothering him in that game last week, but he just had a monster performance anyway. Great signs for him. If you'd sold Dewey, Turtles, I'll throw this at you, because a lot of people have sold Dewey. Would you be looking to buy him back after that performance?
Not really, just because he does have that injury cloud around him. He's not like Drinkwater, where he had that injury and then he's kind of still like you're still umming and ahhing and he hasn't got that role 100%. I feel like Drinkwater just looks fine now. With Dewey, because he's not goal kicking and he's not kicking, he's still under that cloud. And you could counter that and say, well, his running game was there. He ran for 200 meters. He was doing enough tackle breaks and offloads, try assists, and all the attacking stats. He scored like 75 points last week, and none of that came from like goal kicking, which he usually gets 8 points from or something, and then also in-game kicking where he gets another 20 points. It's like this was all from his running game, which is kind of wild. He's like an elite version of Lachlan Galvin, basically, for the Tigers at the moment, and then Jock Madden's taking all the kicking. So on the plus side, let's just say this continues for a little bit and then he gets all those kicking back, then maybe I'll look at him. But if you just sold Adam Dewey and let's say you bought Tanner Boyd, I feel like that was a popular trade last week. I wouldn't have done that. But if you did that, why are you trying to trade him back in? Like, you're literally just burning trades because you're chasing the points. Oh, Dewey scored 75. I'm going to go like pick up, use my trades and try to get that 75. The 75 has already happened. If you've committed to it, commit to it. So if you sold him, unfortunate for you.
Yeah, fair shout. He's not going to score those tries every week, so that's a good call. Ho versus Twal. There's a big one here as well. I think this one's pretty easy. Twal is going to be that guy. Also, a very cute dog. Show us the dog. You got to show us the dog here. And it's a good sign because Twal has that dog in him as well. A little cutie. But yeah, Ho versus Twal here. I think you gotta go to the Twal side here. The scoring's too good. Aramaho, it's bad timing. Like he was 250K, he was 300K, he was 350K. The tries finally came. Nothing's really changed. He just had a big game. So I think it's a bit late. If you want to chase the money, you can. It just feels like the wrong move to me. But look, I think he'll keep scoring pretty well. So maybe Ho's a keeper as well, by the way. If Ho keeps that spot, Patson's out suspended. If you think he's a keeper or close to it, then maybe he is a buy. it's just risky with Ho. Whereas Twal, we sort of know what Twal is now. Like Twal is going to be one of the best middles in the game. Now, for the rest of the Tigers here, Api Coruscant, no backup. It's vaguely interesting. You got Latu Finu on the bench, so I'm not that interested. Twal as captain is very bold, very bold. All Ho has to do is step off team bus to make cash. Yeah, but we saw that with Chan last week, where a 39 wasn't even that bad from Chan, and he only made 50K, and he's now on the drop. So yeah, I just reckon chasing those break evens is not the play. So Tigers, other than that, not that interesting. Look, Madden, you can't get him because Latu is going to get more minutes as well. There are slight concerns that Latu Finu could steal lock minutes from Twal potentially, but Twal just goes to prop, and I don't think that's a big problem here. Safe Sione Finu, Royce Hunter, big minute guys either. So I think that's pretty straightforward here. Now we've got some questions coming through, Turtles. We'll take turns here. Atkinson Twal, that's a super easy one. Yes, of course, you can do that move. I wouldn't necessarily be desperate to sell Atco as much as the score was bad last week, just because he's got those good matchups coming up right now. And he's got King Tonga in the halves of them, which potentially could unlock him a bit, but we'll see how that goes. And Fairmani bullies Arthurs all night long. Do you think that's going to happen here?
No, not at all.
Nope. And then IPAP to Twal. I'll hold him for now. I'd keep IPAP, yeah. But if it was your only way to Twal, maybe you could do it. I mean, it's like a Manu to Twal. I think it's a really bad move. Mooney to Twal is better. Mooney's a bit dodgy, actually. Like he's kind of been bailed out by big attacking plays.
Yeah.
I'll throw this one to you. Who do you start, Joash or Makasini?
Ooh, are they versing each other? They are. Probably Joash. I just feel like he's probably going to get more ball. I feel like Makasini's due for a big score. He's kind of just been hovering around. So if you're buying Joash this week, you're expecting him to score a lot bigger because he has a decently high break even. You can wait for him to lose a little bit more cash. So if you're buying Joash, then yeah, you're believing he has a big score. Before we move on to the next question, I want to propose a trade to you. Would you trade Reed Marnie, and if you're a non-believer, Payne Haas for Twal and Blake Brayley?
So Reed Marnie and Payne Haas for Twal and Blake Brayley. If you're...
Because Brayley and Twal are, like we said, very, very good picks. Reed Marnie has been stinker. If you don't believe in Payne Haas and you're like, oh, he's still injured or he might have reduced minutes. Like people on the stream were saying that he's only going to get 40 minutes. I don't think he is, but you see what I mean? Like I feel like there's enough doubt there that some people will be out there making this move.
Well,
and
what's your assumption, right? Like, is your assumption that Twal is going to play 70 minutes going forward? Because if he does, he averages 65 to 70, which is the same as Haas. So if you're making the case that Twal is within 5 points of Haas, Brayley is obviously better than Reed. You're in a good spot there. I'm okay with that trade. I'd probably go Harry Grant over Brayley, even though the scoring is worse, just because he doesn't have that round 7 bye. And I think that round 7 bye is going to be a disaster. People who get Brayley, but yeah, I'm not completely against it. I'd try to find other ways to move instead and try to keep Haas. But if that's the only move you can make, then you got to do it. We've got questions here. Is Setu and Marnie to Fale and Brayley good? That's a good trade here. Setu 2 to Josh Papali'i is a good trade as well. Look, with Setu 2, I will just flag here, he's not a rush to sell. Like he's got a pretty low break even. He's still very cheap as well. If you can keep Setu for a week or two and just hope he gets his spot back, that's ideal. But if you have to move him, then move him 100%. Who should I move Yongi to? Turtles talked about Drinkwater before as a really nice option there. We've talked about Reece Walsh is a great option as well. Tua Peaky, if you really need that cheaper option too. There's heaps of options here. Madden for 4 weeks, not with Latu Finu on the bench. Too scary. Captain Dewey, Turtles. that's a bold one.
Oh, against Parramatta? Nah. I feel like if you want a Captain Dewey, he needs goal kicking and kick meters as well. We saw the running game last week, which is great, but you also need the other base stats to improve because you want that minimum 50 guaranteed.
And then we've got Moses.
It's not guaranteed if he's just running the ball.
Yeah, Moses Leo, who do you sell him to? 150K in the bank. If you're going for one of those cheap options, it's probably going to be Shibasaki or Tani Tuapiki, or you go cheap and you go Fale and Josh Papali'i. I'd probably go for those cheaper options personally and use the money elsewhere because those guys in that sort of 400 to 500K area, they're not that much better. But I wouldn't be shocked at all. Like Shibasaki has the Titans this week. And if we think Walsh is going to go well, normally Walsh is a bit of a barometer for Shibasaki. So I can easily see Shibasaki going well, even though his scoring has been abysmal this year. Do I hold Jack Williams? If you don't have other fires to put out, you can sell him. Turtles, Colhoun to Hamish. Do you like that at all?
Nah.
Nah.
I think the time to get Hamish was last week.
And Yongi to Edwards. I don't like buying Edwards on the back of that shocker last week. So I'm going to say no to that one. But yeah. And then we're dodging a question. Karaz to Latrell and Marty to Stewart. Almost Leo to Farley or Chester. Yeah, I mean, we've talked about all these guys, man, today. So if you've got the hooker already, you could buy Chester still. Chester's still a decent option. He's a good scorer. Got a good matchup against Dragons this week. I'd probably get Chester over Farley this week just because you know he's going to keep the spot. Karaz Latrell, if you like Latrell, you can do that. And then Marnie to Hamish. If Marnie's your bench hooker, I don't mind that as well. So those trades are fine, man. Probably Chester over Farley at this stage, unless we get confirmation that Farley's going to keep the spot. Because again, I think Farley will come out and play well. Like Turtles, that's my feel on it. If I was going to predict, I think Farley will come out, play well, keep the spot. But they have to win. Like they have to win. Because there's just so many other options here. And am I going to gamble my fantasy side on this Dragons team winning a game ever? Probably not. It's probably not a thing I'm going to do.
See, I feel like Farley is going to be good this week, and he's going to end up like a trap. It's not like Setatu's injured. It's not like Sloan's injured. There's players available, and they're basically going to keep chopping and changing until the Dragons start winning. And the Dragons, no offense to anyone out there, but the Dragons are super good, so they're not going to be super consistent and win a whole bunch of games, and then we're going to see a very consistent team. I feel like this team's going to keep moving around, and I'm going to stay away from this. Remember like Lawson last year? It's like, oh, he comes in, he scores a big score, and then like 3 weeks later, he's getting dropped again because either maybe he got injured, but like it just underperforms, and the Dragons like, nope, we need to start winning.
I think Farley is different though. And again, I'm not willing to bet my trade on it. And I'm not going to tell anyone else to. But I think he's different, man. I just think Farley is going to come in and play really good footy. I've liked what I've seen from him. I see him keeping the spot. That's just how I see it. It's not based on anything really. It's just a vibe and the eye test so far. Then last one here, Jenko. Will he keep his average? No. He's got 10 tries in 4 games. Like, is he going to keep scoring 10 tries every 4 games? Is he going to have, what is that across the season, 60 tries this year? Probably not. So, no, Jenko won't keep it up. Definitely flick him. And then last one, actually, how many tackles would Marnie miss this week? The Dragons don't. I mean, who's going to break the tackles? Like, unless Leilua or Sua come into the middle. Yeah, 5. I'm going to say 5. I mean, cheers, Turtles, for jumping on today. Cheers, everyone, for jumping on as well. It was a massive team list today. There was a lot going on change-wise. We have a great opportunity this week to attack it. Get those guys who are going to grab you the points there and just start moving towards the good cheapies and start thinking a bit about round 12. It's not your number one priority, but just keep it in mind. Turtles, as always, crack it.